and who does not have any idea towards automation. And as well as this session is for the people who are already working towards their manual testing, and they want to upgrade themselves towards automation. Okay, any questions, right? See, we have large number of audience, right? So we can't unmute it. If you have any, right, you can type it on your chat window. See, any questions which are relevant to the concepts that what we are driving through this session, right? You can ask them in your chat window. Okay. And the second point here is, if you have any other questions or if you need any additional details apart from the content that what we are driving, we'll give you the last 5 to 10 minutes after completion of our session, so that you can quickly ask and you can clear your queries. Okay. So that is how the perspective that we are going to drive it. See, initially, right, we are actually kickstarting it for a complete basics, that who are completely new to automation, and if they want to quickly start automation testing, right, so they can quickly enable or implement it in their current projects using these sessions. So I will try my max. Means I have planned a few concepts through which you can kickstart automation in your current project. Okay. So this session is explicitly for a layman. And as I said you, right, these sessions are explicitly for the people who does not have any knowledge towards automation testing. And if they want to automate using a Playwright, right, then how they can speed up automation. How they can speed up automation. Okay, so this is what about your the session. Anyway, you'll get that idea in another couple of minutes or seconds. Now, let me just create a document. Okay, it is nothing but I can simply say Playwright workshop 1. Okay, Playwright workshop 1. Okay, the first in our first the session, right, what we are going to do means, so this session is planned for 3 hours today, and we may take break after 1.5 hours for 10 minutes. Again, we will rejoin and we'll try to continue till 1 or 1:15 p.m. today. Okay, so right, as part of our first session, right, first you are going to understand, first we are going to understand a few things under to Playwright. It's like, first we'll try to understand what is this Playwright. Okay, what is this Playwright? And then, right, we are going to understand a little bit basic. As I said, right, we may see few people who are new to this testing, right? So we are saying we are going to a little bit give a high level view that what is manual and automation testing. Okay. And then we are going to start with why Playwright is becoming popular in the market. That means why people started using a Playwright. Okay. It means we are going to see the advantages, means why it is the best option to use in your real practice. When you want to perform automation testing, right, is Playwright. So we are going to see why we are going to use Playwright. And then, right, we are going to see the installation. It means the setup. If I need to write a Playwright script on my machine, what I need to do, means what are the prerequisites that are required. So what are the prerequisites that are required? What are the prerequisites that are required? Okay, and then we are going to understand, once we install Playwright, we are going to understand the hierarchy. We are going to understand the hierarchy or the folder structure that was created by default. Okay, and then we are going to target by how to run a test. we will check how to run a test. Means you can simply say we are going to quickly check how to check the installation. The installation or setup is how to check the installation and setup is done on our mission. Okay, for that, right, we are going to run a test and confirm it, and run a test and confirm it. So these are the things that what we are going to see in our today's session. Okay. So here, right, means the first point, it is like if I say in today's session, right, these are the things that we are going to cover for next 1.5 hours. Okay, now first, the first step here is, see, normally, right, we say playwright. Okay, we say playwright, right? What is this playwright? Okay, first, right, you need to understand what is this particular playwright. Okay, playwright is nothing but an automation tool. Okay, people call that with different names. But you need to understand, some people say it as a tool. Okay, some people say it as an automation tool. Some people say it as a package. Some people say it as a library. Okay, and what is actually playwright? Means we see different definitions when we browse playwright in our real practice. Whenever you are searching for playwright, right? Whenever we are searching for playwright, right? We are seeing a different definitions. When you are browsing it in your internet or when you are going through any blogs or tutorials or any videos, right? People give different definitions for it. People actually they give different definitions for it. So some people say it as a tool, some people say it as a package, some people say it as a library. And one other important question someone has raised here, right? We are going to see playwright with JS, with JavaScript. Okay, playwright with JavaScript. Okay, so why we have picked with JS? I'll tell you. You will understand that in our next 30 to 50 minutes in our playwright session. Okay, in our playwright session. So before getting into that, right, the first question. See, there are a lot of people who are already who has an experience of my teaching. Means who are already habituated to the way that how I teach it. And there may be few people who are new to this session. So first one here is, see, we are saying this playwright is we are going to use this for automation testing. Okay, we are going to use this for automation testing. Now using playwright, right, what type of testing? So normally, right, I am saying playwright is used for automation testing. Now again, under to automation testing, right, we can we can use playwright to automate different types of testing. Different types of testing. Again, we use playwright to automate different types of testing. We use playwright to automate again different types of testing. So first step here is you need to understand what types of testings that playwright support. Okay, first you need to understand what type of testing that playwright support and what for we majorly use playwright in our real practice. What for we actually use playwright in our real practice. So if you are using a playwright, right, we are able to perform UI, you can perform UI automation testing using playwright. You can perform API automation testing using playwright. Okay, we can also perform UI interactive. Okay, UI interactive DB testing in playwright. And whenever you are going to perform, right, you can also perform UI integrated. Okay, UI integrated API testing. UI integrated API testing. We are also means see. I'll make you to understand what it means. But whenever I'm using Playwright, right, I'm able to perform these different types of testing. Like you can perform UI automation, you can perform API automation, you can perform you can perform UI integrated API testing, you can perform UI interactive DB testing, You can also perform visual testing. You can also perform visual testing. You can also perform mobile emulation. You can also perform mobile emulation testing using a Playwright. And it also supports partially, okay, it also supports partially accessibility testing. It also supports partially accessibility testing. It also supports partially accessibility testing. Okay, it also supports partially accessibility testing. So normally, right, if I use Playwright, right, I'm able to do all these testings. If I'm using Playwright, right, I'm able to do all these types of testing. Now, here, right, as I said, right, whenever I say Playwright, we are saying this is used for automation testing. Now, first step here is you need to understand if I need to do automation testing. If I need to do automation testing, what is the entry criteria? What is the entry criteria for automation testing? The entry criteria for automation testing is you need to have regression shoot. You need to have regression shoot. We actually, normally, right, I'm not sure whether many people know it or not, but we actually automate only regression shoot. We actually automate only regression shoot. So anyway, I don't want my what my our major time is concentrated towards the manual concepts again. So in layman terms, right, what is regression shoot? Okay, what is regression shoot means these are nothing but a list of conditions. These are nothing but the list of conditions or cases which helps to check whether existing functionalities are not deviated. It means regression shoot is nothing but it contains some list of cases which helps us to test the existing functionalities of that particular application. Okay, so the input or you can say the entry criteria for automation testing. The input or the entry criteria for your automation testing is nothing but is nothing but your regression shoot. If I need to kickstart with automation testing, right, the first prerequisite is nothing but we need to have regression shoot. We need to have regression shoot. Okay. We need to have the entry criteria is nothing but regression shoot. Okay. Now the next criteria is, as I said, right, whenever we see Playwright, okay, people say that Playwright is nothing but a tool, package, or a library, right? You need to understand, see, in a layman terms, right, if I'm using to reduce my repetitive tasks, see, for example, if I'm using to reduce the repetitive, tasks, right, we actually call them as tools, right? So that is the reason we say Playwright as a tool in layman terms. For example, if I need to repeatedly perform testing on my application, and if I want to reduce my manual effort, right, we actually use the tools instead of manual effort, right? So we actually call this Playwright as a tool. We actually call this particular Playwright as a tool. And then the second criteria is, say, you may see in a few, right, Playwright is a library or else Playwright is a package. Means you will see, you will see in a few, right, where people say that Playwright is a tool, or Playwright is a package, or Playwright is a module, or what it is actually. So it is very simple. See, Playwright, right? If you directly go back to the official site, okay, let me just open the Playwright site. So if you directly type Playwright, right, you will actually get this as Playwright. Okay, you are actually getting Playwright. Okay, you are actually getting Playwright. So when you are accessing, right, see, normally you open google.com site and you directly type Playwright here. Playwright, Playwright. So whenever you get this Playwright, right, whenever you open this Playwright, right, this Playwright dev.dev is nothing but home site of your Playwright. Now, when you see, right, this Playwright, right, I can use that with multiple languages. Means if I need to do automation, right, I can use that with multiple languages. Like I can use that with Node.js, I can use that with Python, I can use that with Java, I can use that with .NET to automate, to perform automation testing. So if I need to explain you that why we are actually calling this as a package or library. Now let us assume that I am going to use this Playwright with JS. Now if I say here JS, right, it represents JavaScript. Okay. Now if I want to run any JavaScript, I need a node engine. So normally, right, if I need to run any JavaScript on my machine, we need Node.js. And this Playwright is available as a library. This Playwright is provided as a library which was developed in using Node.js. So you can install it and you can use it for your automation testing. Okay, now so that is the reason you will see in some places, right, what is Playwright means. They will say it is a library. It is nothing but a library. Okay, now the second term, right? Some people call it as a package. Why we actually say it as a package? See, I'll tell you. Now we know that we have Node.js, where this helps us to run your JavaScript. Okay, it actually helps us to run your JavaScript. Okay. Now, if I need to say normally, right, in the market, right, we have different languages. Let us say we have Java, okay, we have Python, we have JS. In this way, right, we have different languages in the market, right? So whenever you want to download, if I want to download the library developed in that particular language, okay, we need some tools or repo. Now I'll tell you. It is like I want to download Node.js library. If I need to download any library that was developed in Node.js, for example, this Playwright, right, whatever I'm planning to use here, right, it is nothing but the library that was developed in Node.js. If I want to download this Node.js library, right, then we have npm. Okay, npm is nothing but Node Package Manager. We have npm, which is nothing but what we actually call it as Node Package Manager, which will help us to download any node libraries. And whenever you are going to download these node libraries, using npm, right, we call them as packages. See, I'll make it very simple. Now we are saying Playwright, right? Playwright is a Node.js library. Okay, so it is technically, if I need to define it technically, right, I can simply say it is a package that you can install using a npm. It is a package that you can install on your machine using npm. Okay, it means like what you know, if I need to make it very simple, right? Normally here, right, in Playwright is nothing but a Node.js library, and this library, right, is also called as a package in what you know in your it is also called as a package. And if I need to download this library, right, I need to use npm. I need to use npm. I need to use npm. Okay, I need to use npm. So it means I need node package manager through which only I can install this Playwright library onto my mission. Now, little bit basics. Let me just quickly wind up these basics. A little bit basics is nothing but Playwright, right? Now, if I say Playwright, right, we are saying it as a package or we are saying it as a library. We are saying it as a library, right? Now we are saying it as a package or we are saying it as a library. Okay, now if I need to now this Playwright, right? If I need to give you a little bit a high level view, right? It was developed by Microsoft. It was developed by Microsoft. It was built by Microsoft. If I want to say right, it was built by Microsoft. And it is open source. So anyone can download and start using this Playwright tool for performing automation testing. Okay. And the second thing, right? See, normally, right here, right, as I said you, there is a slight difference between library. There is a slight difference between library and as well as package. And if I want to make it very simple, right? Whenever I want to download any JavaScript whenever I want to download any JavaScript libraries, right? Whenever I want to download any JavaScript libraries, right, we need to use npm. And this npm is nothing but what we actually call it as Node Package Manager. What we are actually calling it as Node Package Manager. Whenever I'm going to download any Java JS libraries using this Node Package Manager, right, we call them as packages. We call them as packages. Now, anything that was downloaded using a npm, we are calling it as a package. And we also call that as a library. Now, first you need to understand in layman terms, what do you mean by library? It means it contains some functions or methods which are predefined, which are called as predefined, or you can simply say it as an built-in. Okay, which are predefinedly or built-inly provided in a class, or in a what we say that in a modules. Okay, in a modules, you can simply say it is a library. Library means it contains a few methods or functions which can be used in your project, and these functions and methods are nothing but what we are actually calling it as predefined functions or methods. It means they are already provided, or else you can simply say it as built-in methods or functions. It means we already have a library where we have already functions and methods. You can reuse those functions and methods in your code. It means these are already provided by some community. You can download that library and you can reuse those methods based upon your requirement. Based upon your requirement. So this Playwright is nothing but what we are actually calling it as library, or we can call it as package, package. Okay, now here, right, one other important thing that you need to understand. As I said you right, we are saying Playwright. Okay, Playwright again, we are saying it as a tool, or you can call it as a library, or some people say it as an, or else some people say it as an package. All are same. What not? All are what not? If I all points to same meaning. What not? It means if I need to make it very very simple, it has some functions or methods which can be reused, which can be reused in your script, in your script. Okay, in your script. That is the reason we are calling these functions and methods as predefined or built-in. We are calling these methods or functions as predefined or built-in. Okay. Now the second part. Now the second part is like why we actually use. What now? Why we are actually why we are actually using this Playwright for performing automation testing. For performing automation testing. What is the input or entry criteria for it? We need to have regression shoot. We need to have regression shoot. What do you mean by regression shoot? What it helps to test existing functionalities. It helps us to test existing functionalities. It helps us to test existing functionalities. Okay, now the next one here is, now you need to understand a little bit. So normally whenever I say testing, okay, whenever I say testing, what people call, some people call that as, software testing. We call them as software testing. And some people call it as system testing. Okay, all these are same. Even though if I say testing, software testing or system testing, right, it represents the same. Okay, and now under to this particular testing, right, again, if I need to perform this testing, right, that can be done in two ways. So first way is I can manually test it, and the second way is I can automate and I can test it. If I want to perform automation testing, right, we actually use Playwright. We actually use Playwright. We actually use Playwright. We actually use Playwright. Okay. And then right now first little bit, what am I just a little bit basic. Now what do you mean by manual testing? And what do you mean by automation testing? See, manual testing, right? It is like, for example, if you consider your UI testing itself, what you will do, you are going to open your browser. You will actually open your browser. And then what you will do, you will follow the steps that what you have written as part of your test case. Okay, and you are going to check the results. Means you are going to manually perform that on your application and you are going to check results. Okay, so this is what that we do as part of your manual testing. It means, see, we will actually open browser and then we will follow the steps that what we had written as part of that particular test case. Let us say if I write to open application, I will open application. And if I say click on login button, I will go and click on login button. It means like it is like it is like a human who opens this particular browser, follow the steps of your test case and check for your results. And see in the market, right, both has its advantages. Even the manual and as well as automation testing, right, it has its own advantages. So many people give us a wrong representation that if you do automation, right, your manual testing is dead, but that is wrong. If you are claiming yourself as an automation tester, right, the first step in your automation is nothing but you need to first do it manually to check whether that functionality is working on our application or not. Okay. So anyway, it is like it is like if I say right testing, in testing, right, these are two important points. One is like you need to manually test it and you should also automate it. Automate the repetitive testings that what you do on your application. For that, right, we use automation testing. to reduce manual intervention. To reduce manual intervention. Now, many people, right, see in manual testing, right, what is the main advantage? What it is a very good for exploratory testing. Exploratory testing. It is very good for exploratory testing. It is very good for exploratory testing. Okay, and again, exploratory testing means we don't, we don't. It is like you're exploring and you're testing your functionality. It is like you're not pre-framing any conditions. Only this should be tested, and it is very good for usability. Usability, right? You can't capture that usability aspects in your automation. So it is majorly used for exploratory and usability testing. But in the same way, right, we also have some disadvantages. It is like it is very slow. It is very slow process and it is an error prone. Because if I ask the same test to be executed for 100 times, right, people will not do it. So it is an error prone. And since it cannot be, it does not have easy of repeatability. Okay, repeatability, right? It does not have easy of repeatability, right? So we can't scale. Means we can't scale on auto manual testing. We can't scale on manual testing. To overcome this, right? Whatever that you do manually, right? We actually write a script. We actually write a script and run them automatically without any manual intervention. So whatever the conditions that you're manually testing it, right? I'm going to write them as a script in a code. And if I run it right, it will automatically perform those actions and test my application. So if you see, right, why we actually need to use this automation, because it is very fast when you compare with the human. And second one is it is repeatable. For example, even though if I ask my automation script to run for 100 times on my application, it will run. If you give the same work to human, right? Again, you can't believe whether they have tested it or not. And it is very good for regression testing. Regression means for testing existing functionalities on your application. Okay, but here also we have some some limitations. Like initially, right, we need to do coding for it to achieve this. Okay, and then right after coding, right, we may see maintenance as well. Means for example, initially it was running. Initially, see, as I said you right, this is for layman. Okay, and please, if you can bear with me for the specified hours, you can be in this session. If you don't have patience, right, please drop. We are not enforcing you to be in this particular session. Is this part clear? This is, as I said, right? This session was specially designed for laymen who does not have any knowledge towards testing or automation testing. Okay, and frankly speaking, we don't need any sessions. As I said, right? If you assume that you are already aware of these concepts, right? Please join our second session. Okay, and please don't disturb our session by unnecessarily texting unnecessary messages into it. When I have started this session, right, I had already set you the context that what for we have designed it and who are actually needs to attend this session. You guys are getting me right? Okay, so please bear with me. Yeah, please bear with me with patience so that we'll slowly kickstart. Initially, right, we may be a little bit slow because we want everybody to understand that what it is, and then we will slowly start with our automation concepts as well. Okay, and we are triggering it out, right? The first 1 hour, right, it is to make in sync with the people who does not have any knowledge towards this testing. Okay. So if you see here, right, and the second thing, right, see, it's like whenever you are going to convert your total manual testing into a script, right? Again, initially, right, we may need to do some maintenance. It means whenever your test is getting failed, right, again you need to fix that particular test by fixing your script, and as well as you need to also change your script whenever you see any UI changes, and whenever you see any UI changes. So this is like very basic, like what, whenever you're going to do testing, right, we do that in two perspectives. One is manual and second one is with your automation. And second one is with your automation. Okay. And the second one is with your automation. So if you see here, right? So if you see here, right? Now in this, right, if I need to automate, okay, if I need to automate, okay, it is very simple. We are actually going to use here Playwright. Now again, as I said, you right, under to automation as well, we have different types of testing. We also have different types of testing. So here, right, majorly, right, if I use Playwright, right, we can use Playwright for performing these testings like UI automation, API automation, UI integrated API testing, UI interactive DB testing, visual testing, mobile emulation testing, and partial accessibility testing. Partially accessibility testing. Now, the first advantage here is so now you got a high level idea, right? See, it means you need to have an understanding what is testing, what you do as part of testing towards manual, and what you do as part of testing towards automation. And for example, if I'm using a Playwright, okay, Playwright can be used with different languages. It can be used with Java. It can be used with Python. It can be used with JS. It can be used with C# as well. In our current session, right, we are going to see Playwright with JS. In current session, right, we are going to see Playwright with JS. We are going to see Playwright with JS. Okay, and then, right, we had a unit, you should also understand, if I say Playwright, right, this is used for automation testing, and under to automation testing, again, we have different, like UI automation, API automation, DB, mobile, and accessibility, and as well as visual testing. So majorly, right, in real practice, right, you see Playwright for UI, API, and as well as visual testing. If I need to perform automation testing in all these three areas, right, like UI, API, and visual testing, right, we majorly use this Playwright automation tool in our real practice. In our real practice. Okay, now the second step. Now the second step here is why we are going to use Playwright. Okay, we have a lot of advantages. We have a lot of advantages why we actually use Playwright in our real. It supports multiple browsers. It supports the backend engines of your browsers like Chromium, WebKit, and as well as Firefox. Okay, it helps us to perform cross-browser testing. This is one main advantage. And Playwright can be used on any application. It can be used on Windows, Linux, Ubuntu, Mac. So that is what I mean to say here, any browser, any platform, and one API. And one API. Can you guys hear me? I see few people are texting that they can't hear me. Can you guys hear me? If yes, please type Y on your chat windows. Okay. So if you see here, right, it is like the main advantage is like any browser, any platform, only one API, means only one library through which you can automate. Okay, and it is also supported with multiple languages. Like you can write your code using TypeScript, JavaScript, Python, Java, and as well as .NET. And it also helps us to do mobile emulation testing. If I say emulation means, see, normal, right, whenever you say mobile, right, it supports mobile testing, right? Again, under to mobile, right, we see two types of applications. One is mobile web-based applications, and second one is mobile native applications. Whenever you're going to access your application on mobile browser, we call them as mobile web-based applications. And whenever you are going to open your application on native Android apps or IO apps and you are going to perform testing, that is called as mobile native testing. That is called as mobile native testing. So here, right, we are going to, this Playwright will support mobile emulation. It means I'll show you. For example, whenever you open your browser, right? For example, if I'm opening any website, right? You can also see that this website, that how it will be shown on your mobile. So if you click on inspect, you will get this below screen. This is called as developer tools. Now here, right, if you see the second icon where you can see a web view or mobile view. If you select once, right, it will show the web view, and if you click on the second time, right, it will show you the mobile view of that particular website. Okay, it will actually show you the mobile view of that particular website. And here, right, it is also supportive. Like it is also supportive that you can also select different mobile dimensions. And you can also test that how that website is displayed on that particular mobile. So this is called as mobile emulation testing. So using Playwright, right, you are also able to do this mobile emulation testing. You can also do mobile emulation testing. Is this part clear? You can also do this mobile emulation testing. As I said, right, majorly means what you need to understand here. We are going to do UI, API, and as well as web, and it is specially designed for your web applications automation. Okay, web applications automation. It means whenever I say applications, right, we see different types of applications in the market, like majorly, right, standalone applications, which are called as desktop-based applications. Okay, which are called as desktop-based applications. And second one is web-based applications. And the third one is mobile-based applications. Mobile-based applications. So whenever you are going to use this Playwright, right? Whenever we are going to use this Playwright, right? We can actually automate it on our web to test it from UI. You can also perform it through API, and as well as you can also perform visual testing. And under to this web, right? It also supports mobile emulation testing. You can also do mobile emulation testing. Okay, and the third one is visual. What I'll tell you what is API and what is visual. But these things, right, we will just do that Playwright setup, and we will write some examples, and then we'll go for these particular types of testing. Okay, as of now, right, if again I drive this, right, it will be like a lot of theory. So we will do little bit step by step hands on as part of your basics, and then again we'll again come back and we'll see what do you mean by API and what do you mean by visual testing. So the first part here is you need to understand the basics, right? So whenever you open your application and whenever you're opening your Chrome browser and you're seeing your Playwright, right, you can see that Playwright can be used with multiple browsers, with multiple platforms and one API, and it supports cross-language, cross-platform, and cross-browser. It means major browser engines. Playwright supports major browser engines. Okay, like Chromium, WebKit, and as well as Firefox. I'll make you to understand what do you mean by browser engine in our upcoming session. But as of now, right, see, if whenever there is any browser that is developed in the market, right, it uses a backend engine. So if you see here, right, if I say cross browser, okay, if I say cross browser means it supports all the major browser engines like Chromium, WebKit, and as well as Firefox. And cross platform means it can be used on any of your operating systems, like it can be Windows or any Linux flavor or Mac or Ubuntu. You can use this on any of your operating systems. And cross language, it means you can use this Playwright library with TypeScript, JavaScript, Python, .NET, and as well as with Java. And then, right, we started it helps us to perform a test mobile web. It means you can do mobile emulation on Chrome or Android or Safari, and you are able to test it. And the second important advantage is like no flaky tests. No flaky tests. See, very simple. I'll make it very simple. What do you mean by flaky? Okay, what do you mean by flaky? Okay, and what advantages that you achieve if you don't see any flaky tests during your execution? Okay, flaky tests means it's very simple. Let me just make it very simple. Let us say you have executed 100 tests through your automation testing, through your automation. Now, when you are executing it for the first time, right, it has, when you are executing it for the first time, right, it passed 80 tests, okay, and then it has failed 20 test cases. What 80 tests got passed and 20 got failed, okay. Now, again, in your second run, right, again, it has passed 70 tests and again 30 tests got failed. It means every time, right, the failed test cases are not same. It means sometimes, right, it is failing first 10 test cases, second time, right, it is failing another next set of 10 test cases, and another execution, right, it is failing randomly some 10 test cases. The failure percentage may be the same, but the failed test cases are not same for every iteration. That is called as flaky. That is called as flaky. It means for every run, right, you don't see same tests are getting failed. You don't see the same tests are getting failed. So that is what we actually call it as flaky tests. Now, one important thing that you need to understand in your automation, one important thing that you need to understand in your automation testing, is nothing but one important thing that you need to understand in automation testing is nothing but if you see here, right, whenever you see any failure in automation, whenever you see any failure in your automation, it means that failure can happen for two reasons. So first reason is there may be a synchronization problem. There may be a synchronization problem. It means whenever you're executing the script on your application, okay, that application, that is script and your application are not getting executed with the same speed, then we actually see failures. For example, I want to open an application and I want to click on login. So when I am writing script for it, right, my application should also open and it should have login button. Then only my script can go and click on that to that particular login button. But for example, if my script is executing faster and my application is responding slow, then also I will see failure. Or else my script is executing slow and my application is very, if you are not maintaining same speed between your script and as well as your application, right, your scripts will fail. So the such failures are called as synchronization. Means it is like they got failed due to synchronization. Okay, they got failed due to synchronization. And now the second type of failure can be due to with your script, whatever the automation script that you had written, right? Due to your automation script, you may see failures. Then we actually need to do maintenance. Then we actually need to do maintenance. Then we actually need to do maintenance. So normally, right, whenever you see failures in your automation, majorly, first you need to identify what is the reason, whether it can be a synchronization reason or the second one is whether it is a script issue. So if you consider the percentage of failures, right, synchronization failures, maybe it is near to 60 or 70% of your failures. You can simply say 60% of your failures you actually see due to synchronization. And the script failures, right, you may see 30 or 20%. Okay, you can see 20 or 30% failures are due to your script. Okay. So in Playwright, right, to maintain this synchronization, they have auto waiting feature. They have auto waiting feature. What now? If you see here, right, in their website itself, they clearly mentioned that we have auto wait feature which waits for elements to be actionable before performing actions onto that particular element. This will actually reduce major number of your synchronization issues. This will actually reduce major number of your synchronization issues. Okay, so this is like one of the advantage. Means a Playwright has an inbuilt feature where that feature is nothing but auto waiting feature. Whenever it is going to perform action on any element, right, it auto waits till that particular element is available to perform action on it. So that feature is inbuiltly provided in Playwright. So it actually reduces major number of your synchronization failures. So that is what here they clearly mentioned, that it actually reduces flaky tests. It actually reduces flaky tests. And the second advantage is like it has inbuilt assert methods. We say web first assertions. It means Playwright assertions are created specifically for dynamic web. Checks automatically until the necessary conditions are met. It means if I need to make it very simple, right? Whenever I need to do testing, see the main thing is here is, see, people say testing, right? What do you mean by testing? It is nothing but we need to test whether my application is completely working and correctly working. Okay, and correctly working, whether my application is completely and correctly working. If I need to do that right, I need to verify and validate. If I need to do that right, I need to verify and validate. What do you mean by verification and validation? We need to compare your expected value with your actual value. If both are same, right, I'm going to mark it as a pass, or else I'm going to mark it as a fail. Okay, this is what that we do in your testing. And whatever that you're doing, right, whenever you're comparing your expected with your actual, right, these are called as, if I need to do that comparison, right, those are called as assertions. And Playwright has inbuilt assertions through which you can validate, data on your application. Through which you can validate data on your application. So that is the main advantage. Means what you can reduce flaky test due to auto waiting capability. You have web first assertions. It means we have some predefined assert methods which are available in Playwright through which you can perform your validations. And the third one is whenever you see a failure, right, you will get you will also have tracing. Tracing means, see, whenever you see any failure, right, first thing here is you need to first go and identify root cause for it. For identifying root cause, right, we do analysis. That is called as root cause analysis. So if I need to do that analysis, that why it is got failed and identifying root cause, right, for that, right, we need traces. So if I say traces means it can be a screenshot, it can be a video of my execution, or it can be a detailed log of my execution through which I can easily say that why it got failed. Through which I can easily say why that particular step got failed. Why that particular step got failed. So if you see here, right, so the second advantage is nothing but it gives us the detailed traces through which you can capture screenshot, through which you can, you'll also get video and you'll also get a detailed log, which actually helps me to identify root cause for it. Which actually helps me to identify root cause for it. Which actually helps me to identify root cause for it. Okay, and then the next criteria. And then the next criteria is, and then the next advantage of your Playwright is, no trade-off and no limits. No trade-off and no limits. What it means here means you can run your tests, by using your modern browser architectures, and it is free. And we have some additional features in your Playwright, like a test runner, debugging, and as well as running your executions in parallel. right? These are like, which are, means what, if you see, right, let me just make it simple. If you see here, right, here Playwright will support all modern browsers for your execution. Okay, it means any modern browser like Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari, whatever, they actually uses engines like Chromium, WebKit, and as well as Firefox. So it supports all modern browser architectures to run your test cases. And the second thing, right, it also has an advantage to handle multiple tabs, multiple origins, and multiple users. It means the multiple origins means different domains on a single test. Multiple users. It means I can log into a I can open a browser and I can open multiple tabs. And on each tab, right, I can open multiple origins, and on each origin, right, I can use multiple users through which I can automate it. Through which I can automate it. So it means it is very simple. You will understand this when we are dealing with multiple windows or multiple tabs concept. But now, as of now, right, you need to understand. I can open a browser, and on my browser, right, I can open multiple applications. Okay, and when you're opening multiple applications, right, on different tabs, right, I can also use multiple users through which I'm able to perform actions on each and every tab. Okay, that is supportive. Okay, that is supportive. And here, right, it supports frames, windows, pop-ups, alerts, and as well as shadow DOM as well. Shadow DOM as well. Okay. And then, right, it is very fast when you compare it with other tools in the market, like whether it can be Selenium or some other tools, right? If you see, right, the execution is very faster when you compare it with other tools in the market. When you compare this with other tools in the market. And another important thing here is here, right, we have a capability that if you log into any application once, you can store that login session and you can reuse the same for multiple test cases. It means we have capability that whenever you're logging to any application, we can store that login session and you can use the same for your multiple tests. You can use the same for your multiple tests. You can use the same for your multiple tests. Okay. Okay. You can use that, you can use that to post that in your multiple you can use that in your multiple tests. It means once you log into your application, you can store that login session and you can also use that without logging into other test cases. You can use the same session and you can run your tests. And you can run your tests. So that is another important advantage that we have. That is nothing but another important advantage that we have. Okay, and then the next criteria is it has some additional features. Like you can automatically record your test and you can rerun it using CodeGen. And you have an inspector through which you can quickly capture locator values. And then, right, we have a trace viewer through which you can investigate the failures and identify root cause for that particular failure. For that particular failure. And if I say here, right, the traces, right, it contains details like even though you can inspect network failures as well in that particular log. In that particular log. So that part, right, anyway, I'll show you when we're doing some examples, right, then you will easily understand it. So now here, right, you see, these are like some features that are available in your Playwright. Okay, these are like the features that we already have in our Playwright. But when you're comparing with Selenium, see, normally, right, the next popular tool in the market is nothing but Selenium. If I need to compare Selenium with the Playwright, we have few advantages. So first one is in Playwright, right, we have auto wait capability. Okay, through which it helps us to maintain synchronization and it reduces flaky tests. And the second advantage is it supports all major browser engines. It means you are almost if you are able to test your application on these three supportive engines, like Chromium, Firefox, and as well as WebKit, right? It means you are indirectly covering all the browsers which are supported with these engines. And the third one is it is nothing but a modern API. It has a cleaner and concise commands. Means the commands, right? Which are provided. The commands are what we are saying it as methods or what we are calling it as functions. These are very very easy to understand that how you are going to use that as part of your automation testing. And the next one is here, right? We have multi-tab. We have multi-tab support, and we also have context isolation. Context isolation means, for example, whenever I'm going to open multiple tabs, right, each browser, right, I can maintain a separate context to run my tests, to run my tests, to run my, excuse me, to run my tests. Okay, and then, right, the third one is it also have some features like video recording, capturing a screenshot without explicitly writing code, network mocking, and it also supports API and as well as visual testing. And it also supports API and as well as visual testing. And another important thing is it also supports multiple operating systems. It supports Windows, it supports Mac OS. Okay, it also supports Linux flavors. It means it can be anything. It can be Ubuntu or Red Hat, any flavor. You can use this tool through which you can automate it. Okay. So these are like a few features that are actually available in Playwright, and which cannot be directly achieved in your Selenium. And another main advantage is when you compare with other tools, right? When you compare with other tools, right, the execution is very faster. The execution of Playwright tests is very faster when you compare with other tools. When you compare that with other tools. Okay. Then we have other advantages as well, like recording. You have auto recording facility using CodeGen. You have a Playwright runner, which we don't see any runners in Selenium. Okay, and we also have a debug mode. Okay, we can also run that in a debug mode and fix your script. We have Playwright debugger. See, normally, right, if you go to other languages, right, we have debugger with that specific language. Here, right, we have a Playwright script debugger through which you can easily identify root cause of that particular failure and you can fix it. And you can fix it. Okay, now, see, these are like a few features. It means, see, just a basic summary. It is like you need to understand what is Playwright, okay, and why we use Playwright, okay, and what types of testing that it supports. Okay, what types of testing that it supports? We have different types, right? It supports UI, it supports the API, and it supports visual. It supports visual testing. It supports DB testing as well, but we need to use some libraries. And it supports accessibility testing. It supports accessibility testing, and it also supports mobile emulation to test your web applications, And then, right, you need to understand what are the advantages of Playwright. It means why we actually use Playwright. We already listed it, right? It has auto waiting capability. It supports all major browsers, all operating systems. The commands are very concise. It means they are very easy to understand. And it supports multi-tab and context isolation. It supports video recording for your execution. It supports screenshot, network mocking, API testing, visual testing, supports multiple operating systems, execution of Playwright tests. on different browsers, execute and recording facility, Playwright runner, debugging and fixing the script. We have all these features. Like it supports parallel execution, it supports parallel execution, it supports CI integration. These are like if you want to use that with some third-party tools, right? You can also integrate them and you can also achieve those functionalities. Anyway, it's like say talking on advantages and without any practical hands-on, right? There is no meaning in it. So let us kickstart. For example, if I need to use Playwright, okay, if I need to use Playwright, what are the prerequisites that are required on my mission? Okay, what are the prerequisites that are required to get installed on my mission? First thing is you need to install Node.js. Okay, and whenever you're installing Node.js, right, you will automatically get NPM. And whenever you get NPM, right, you will automatically get a NPX. So first prerequisite is you need to check whether you have Node.js. See, many people have a doubt, sir, why we need to install Node.js to run our Playwright script, I'll tell you. See, normally, right, we actually see JavaScript, right? We actually say JavaScript. This is the language that was specially developed for our browsers. So whatever the browser that you see in the market, right, they are actually developed using this JavaScript. The browsers are developed using this JavaScript. So whenever you are going to write any JS script, if I want to run it on any browser, we don't need any Node.js installed on our machine because browser defaultly has capability to run your JS script. Browser will defaultly have capability to run your JS script because your browser have engines. Your browser will defaultly have a node engine which will run this particular JS, means which will actually help you to run this JavaScript. But for example, you're writing a JavaScript code and I want to run it on my machine without using a browser. Then we need to have Node.js installed on my machine. See, normally, right, many people confuse this part because, see, normally, right, JavaScript is specially developed for browsers. Okay, and whenever, if you go through any tutorials or any sort of videos or any sort of content on the web, right, they will majorly try to explain you the JS script and its execution by directly running it on browser. But as part of our automation, right, we don't run our script on browser. We write a script and first we'll try to run that particular script on browser. Using a Node.js engine that is installed on our machine. And again, under to Node.js engine, right, again, we have multiple versions. Like we have version 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the latest version is 8. The engine, the Node.js engine, the latest version, it may be 8. It is 8 or it can be above as well. We need to see that releases, what has been released recently. So the blind rule here is if I need to run JavaScript on my machine without using a browser to execute it, right, we need Node.js installed on our machine. So if I need to install this Node.js, right, the first step here is just to go to your Google Chrome and type here node download. And just type here node download. Then you will get a Node.js. So if you click on to that particular Node.js link, right, you will be redirecting to this particular link. And here, right, you can see based upon your operating system and your bit of your machine, right, it will automatically select. Since my machine is Windows and it is 64-bit, right, it has automatically selected here. It got automatically selected here. That it is a Windows machine and it is a 64-bit machine. And it is a Windows machine and it is a 64-bit machine. If you see, right, it is Windows and it is 64-bit machine. And you will get a .msi file. You can download it and if you click on next, without changing any options, you can install Node.js onto your machine. Or else the second way is you can also download that as a zip file. You can extract it and again you can do your installations. Okay, so the best way is you would install this .msc file and click on next and it will actually install Node.js. So it is very simple. You just click on to this, then you'll get a MSC file downloaded. You'll get an MSC file downloaded. Okay, now once it got downloaded, Okay, now once it got downloaded, just open that particular node, double click on it. So you will get a pop-up to get it installed. You need to click on, it is already, it is preparing, and migrating features. It is like I already have that version, so it has checking and it is giving me this particular pop-up. In your case, right, whenever you double click on it, right, you will be populated with this particular screen. You need to click on next. You need to I accept license and click on next. And then you need to click on next. And then you need to click on next. Next install. Don't change any options during your installation. Don't change any options during your installation. Okay, so it should automatically install. So it should automatically install. So it should automatically install. Is this part clear? Then you will get a yes. So it means it is actually installing that Node.js onto your machine. So once this installation is successful, right, you will get a message that Node got installed successfully on my machine. Node got installed successfully on my machine. Is this part clear? So if you see here, right, so if you see here, right, it is actually installing it on our machine. It is actually installing it on our machine. Let it install. So if you see, right, it is actually installing, and once the installation has been done, right, here you will get a message, completed Node.js setup. Then you need to click on finish. So then you will be into this particular screen. So then you will be into this particular screen. Now what you need to do here is, after installing this Node.js, after installing this particular Node.js, now what you need to do here is to check whether this Node.js has been properly installed. You need to open your command prompt. You need to type CMD and press enter so that you will actually get a command prompt opened. Now in this particular command prompt, right, just to type node-v. So it should show you the version of your node that got installed on your machine. It should actually show the node version that got installed on your machine. If you are getting this version here means your node has been properly installed. Your node has been properly installed. Your node has been properly installed. Now second one is, whenever you are installing this particular Node.js, right, you will also defaultly get NPM. NPM means Node Package Manager. Node Package Manager. For example, if I want to download any Node.js libraries, right, we need NPM. We need NPM. We need NPM. So NPM means Node Package Manager. It's the same way, right? For example, in Java, right? For example, if I want to download any libraries, what we are going to do? We are going to add that particular dependency. We are going to add that particular dependency to your pom.xml file, through which you can download your Java libraries and add that to your project. In the same way, right? For example, if I want to download any Node.js libraries and add them to my project, right, I need to use NPM. I need to use NPM, Node Package Manager. So how do we check whether you got NPM as well? Just type npm-version. Just type npm-version. Just type npm-version. Okay. So you can see npm version. And whenever you are installing npm, right, if I need to run any node package, we need npx. We need npx-v. It is going to give you, for example, Control C, and I'm saying npx-v. It will show you the npx version. It will also show you the npx version. It will also show you the npx version. So you can simply say npx-v. It will also show you the NPX version that is installed on your mission. That is installed on your mission. Okay, it is also going to show you the NPX version that is going to installed on your mission, NPX-V. It will show you the NPX version that is installed on your mission. It is going to show you the NPX version. Okay, it is also going to show you the NPX version that is installed on your mission. Okay, so it is very simple. So the next criteria is, you need to check, means whenever you are going to install Node, right? First you need to check whether Node got installed using a Node V, and second you need to check whether NPM got installed using Node V, and the third one is you need to also check whether you have NPX installed using -V. It will show you those versions. Now, second one is like if I need to write some playwright script, right? We are going to write that using JavaScript, right? So if I need to write that, right, I need one editor. So for example, whenever I want to write some playwright code, right, I need to write some playwright code on my mission and I want to execute it. So the summary is like we need to have these two prerequisites. These two prerequisites. So what are those prerequisites? So first one is you need to have Node. So whenever you're installing Node, you will automatically get NPM and you'll automatically get NPX. And the second one is you need to have one editor. So normally, right, we have a lot of editors in the market. I am suggesting you to use VS Code, which is free and which can be used for any language. Which can be used for any language. So you need to install VS Code. So how do we install VS Code? So go back to your terminal, and then what you need to do here is you need to simply type VS Code download. VS Code download. So when you click on to this particular VS Code, right, you will be into this particular page. So here, right, based upon your operating system, you can download. If it is Windows, you click on it, it will download VS Code for Windows, Ubuntu, Red Hat, Fedora, or else if it is Mac system. Based upon your operating system, right, download that respective VS Code. So if I'm using Windows, right, click on to this particular Windows VS Code. It will automatically download a .exe file. If you double click on it and click on next install without changing any options, it is going to install VS Code on your machine. It is going to install VS Code on your machine. Okay. See, very simple. Many people may have doubt that why we are going this much detail. See, our agenda is like, see, for example, let us say we are targeting to explain you around 10 or 12 concepts. These 12 concepts help you to drive it as very basics. It means, for example, if you know these concepts, right, you can also means whenever you are planning to practice any new concepts, right, you can easily read it from somewhere and you can practice it with these basics. Okay, so to kickstart with that, right, first you need to understand if I need to run my Playwright script on my machine, right, I need to have Node. Node.js. Node.js is an engine to run your JavaScript. So normally, right, in an interview, right, they will ask you, if I need to run some JavaScript code, right, how can I run? Then you will say that we need to have Node.js. Then they will say, without Node.js, can't we run JavaScript? Yes, we can run it on a browser. But if I want to run it on my machine without using any browser, right, I need to have Node.js installed on my machine. Now, when you are installing Node.js, right, it will automatically install NPM. What is NPM? NPM is nothing but Node Package Manager through which you can download any Node packages or Node.js libraries. Okay, and the third one is what is NPX? Now, let us say you have already downloaded a Node library or a package. If I want to run that package, right, I need to use npx. Npx is nothing but like execution. Node package execution. It is used for node package execution. It is used for node package execution. So let me make it very simple. Node.js is like an engine. It allows JavaScript to run on your computer. It actually allows a JavaScript code to run on your computer. Without Node.js also, you can run, but you need to run it on browser. But for example, if I want to run Playwright script, right, it is a library and I need to design a script and I need to run it. For that, right, I need Node.js. That is the reason we are installing Node.js on our mission. Second one, I need to write some script. If I need to write some script, right, I need editor. I need editor. So for that, right, we are using VS Code. So once that particular VS Code got downloaded, right, just click on it, you will get a pop-up. You need to click on I accept license, next, next, install. Don't change any options. Don't change any options. Don't change any options. Okay, you guys are getting me right? Don't change any options. Okay, so if you install that VS Code, right, that VS Code editor will be also installed on your machine. That VS Code editor will be also installed on your machine. Now let it install. In between, right, as I said to you, right, whenever you're installing Node, you'll also get a NPM. So NPM is a bundle that will be downloaded when you're downloading Node.js. Why we need it? See, it is like very simple. You have App Store, right, in your mobiles. For example, if you want to download any app, you are going to App Store or you are going to your Play Store and you are downloading that particular app. In the similar way, for example, Playwright is assume that Playwright is like a app. You want to download it. You are going to your App Store or Play Store and you are downloading it, right? In the same way, Playwright is a Node.js library. If I need to download that, right, I need to connect to some repository from where I need to download this package or library. If I need to connect to that particular repository and if I need to download this library or package, right, I need NPM. I need NPM, Node Package Manager. I need NPM. It is like a tool which actually helps us to download Node projects. Node, it helps us to download Node libraries or packages which are developed using Node.js. It helps us to download libraries or packages which are developed in Node.js. Okay, and then right, the third one is NPX. We are saying right, whenever you're downloading Node, you will also get NPM and you will also get NPX. So if you see right, NPX is nothing but it is a shortcut tool. Okay, that comes with NPM. Whenever NPM is getting downloaded, right, your Node package manager, you will also get a tool with name called NPX. It allows you to run directly the package without installing that on your machine. For example, even though that library is not installed on your machine, but still if you want to run that library, right, you can use NPX. You can use NPX. So if I need to make it very, very simple and transparent, right, Node is like your engine to run your JavaScript. And if I want to download any libraries, I need NPM. And if I want to run that library with installing or without installing that library onto my machine, then we need to use NPX. Then we need to use NPX. Anyway, we will see examples, right? Then you will understand it. So as of now, you need to remember, you need to have two prerequisites. First prerequisite is Node.js. And under to Node.js, when you're installing Node.js, you should automatically get NPM and NPX. And the second prerequisite is VS Code editor. So once you have downloaded it and if you are clicking on next, 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 and without changing any options during your installation, it will show you completed VS Code installation. So click on finish. Now just go to your search and type here VS Code. Okay, and then if you click on Visual Code, right, it actually opens Visual Code on your machine. It actually opens VS Code on your mission. It actually opens VS Code on your mission. Or else the second way is like the second way is like you can also open VS Code directly by going to your command prompt and you can write code dot. Okay, you can write code dot. It will also open your VS Code. That will also open your VS Code. That will also open your VS Code. So anyway, the best way to open your VS Code is nothing but just right click. The best way to open your VS Code is nothing but just go to command prompt and open it. Just go to not command prompt, just go to this search button and type here VS Code and click on VS Code. It actually opens VS Code editor on your machine. It actually opens VS Code editor on your machine. And if you just go here, right, I can close that particular VS Code by right clicking, by clicking on cross mark, or else right click on it and click on VS Code. It will actually close your VS Code. It actually closes your VS Code. So now you have got these two prerequisites. Now the next step here is now I need to do Playwright setup. Now I need to do Playwright setup. Now if I need to use Playwright, right, I need to do that Playwright setup to write my automation script. For that, right, whenever you're installing this Playwright, right, we have two ways to install it. So first way is like you can use VS Code plugin to install Playwright. Second one is you can also do that from your command prompt. You can also do that from your command prompt. You can also do that from your command prompt. What it means? It means it is nothing but command prompt or terminal. We say if you are using Ubuntu or Mac machines, right? We say it as a terminal. We say it as a terminal. We say that as a terminal. We say that as terminal. Okay, so it is very simple. Means whenever you are going to install Playwright, right? We can install that in two ways. One way is you can install VS Code plugin and you can install Playwright with VS Code plugin. Second way is you can also run some commands and you can install Playwright on your mission and you can install Playwright on your mission. So I will show you both the ways. So normally, right, it again depends. If your organization is allowing you to install plugin so that you can quickly install Playwright, you can quickly install Playwright. You can quickly install Playwright. So now, right, now the second step. Now the second step is like I need to download Playwright and I want to start using it. So for that, right, what you need to do here is you need to go and you need to open VS Code. You need to go and you need to open VS Code. Then you will get this particular VS Code, displayed like this. Now here, right, what I need to do here is I need to, okay, there is something wrong here. It is actually showing it in a maximized mode. Let me just minimize it. Okay, what I need to do here is I need to go back. I'm closing it. And again, I'm typing VS Code and I'm opening VS Code. So it should actually open VS Code. And this VS Code, right? There is some problem. It is getting opened in maximized mode. Let me just minimize it. Yes. So if you see, right, this is how that you are going to get VS Code opened. Okay, for the first time when you're opening your VS Code, right, you will get that VS Code, okay, not in this format. Okay, right click and you need to close it. Control Shift P. Okay, but I'm not able to see complete VS Code. Let me just close it. Okay, or else let me just open VS Code. Okay, and open VS Code. Actually, right, see, there is some problem with my mission, so it is showing it in maximized mode. In your mission, right, it actually opens VS Code. So whenever you're opening your VS Code, right, just if you go here and if you click on here and if you click on new window, it actually opens a new window. It actually opens a new VS Code window. Okay, and go to settings, find files. So this is nothing but your VS Code that got opened. Okay, I'm saying that it is actually opening a VS Code, and this is how that you will get a VS Code opened on your mission. Now, whenever you have opened it for the first time, right, it will show you that VS Code in this format. It will actually show you that particular VS Code in this particular format. Now what you need to do here is you need to close this welcome screen. You need to close this welcome screen. Then you will be into this particular page. Now you have here, right? This will show you the project explorer. I'll tell you. It's like whenever you open your VS Code, right? Now I need to do that setup to install Playwright and write some Playwright script. And I need to write some Playwright script. Okay, and then right now here, right, if you see here, right, first step here is you need to create one folder and open that particular folder in VS Code. So how do we create it? So it is very simple. At the top right, see, whenever you open your VS Code, right, you will see at the top right, you have file, edit, selection, view. This is nothing but what we actually call it as menu bar. What we actually call it as menu bar. And here you will see some icons. And this is nothing but what we are actually calling it as an left panel icon bar. And here, right, this is what we actually call it as Explorer, where you can see hierarchy of your project. And this is where you can see the code that is written inside to that particular file. So this is called as editor. So this is called as editor. Okay, so it means, so anyway, you will understand that once we start using them. So as of now, right, the first step is whenever you're opening your VS Code, right, you will be seeing this a welcome screen. When you close that welcome screen, right, you will be into this particular page. Okay, you will be into this particular page. Now what I need to do here is, now the first step here is, you need to go and open one folder in your VS Code. It means what I need to do here is you can just you can just click on to that particular folder. Okay, you can just click on to that particular folder, open folder, and then you will get a pop-up. And you can go to any location. Okay, and you can create a folder. Let us say I'm going to desktop. In my desktop, right, I have Playwright workshop. Now under to this particular workshop, I'm creating a folder with name called Playwright practice. And select this particular folder and open that particular folder in your VS Code. And open that particular folder in your VS Code. So you will normally see like this. See the folder that what you have opened, right? That is opened on your VS Code. So first part here is just to open one blank folder in your VS Code. Now once I have created this particular folder, right? Now I need to make this folder as your. Now I need to install Playwright under to this particular folder. And I want to make this particular folder as a Playwright project. And I want to make this particular folder as a Playwright project. I want to make this particular folder as a Playwright project. Now what I need to do here is whenever you open this particular folder, right? Now in this particular folder, right, I need to install Playwright. And as I said, you right, Playwright, if I need to install Playwright, right, that can be installed in two ways. One way is you can install it with your VS Code plugin, or else the second way is you can also run some commands from command prompt or terminal and you can install it. I will show you both the ways because see, when you're practicing it in your local laptop, right, you can install it any of these ways. When you're doing it in your organization missions, right, they will not allow you to install that using some plugin. So you need to run commands to install that particular Playwright and create that particular folder as Playwright project. Playwright project. See, we can't see the best. See, Playwright means it's a, if you're writing your code in Playwright means you're writing your code in JS. So whatever the editors that are supported with JS, JavaScript, right? You can use any editor. If a JavaScript is supported with Eclipse, right? You can also write the same code in your Eclipse editor as well. But normally, right, the best practice is like majorly, right, in your organizations, we use VS Code. VS Code editor. So it is always better to use VS Code because it is in it supports other languages as well. Because see, for example, if I'm writing automation script, right, I may be working on different projects where I may need to deal with few projects with Python and few projects with Java and few projects with this JS. So if I use VS Code, right, it supports all these languages. So it is always better to use VS Code to write your JS script. Or else we also have other editors, not only Eclipse, whatever the editors that are supportive with your JS, right, supportive to write JavaScript code, right? You can use any editor. You can use any editor. But in our session, right, we will see one editor which is majorly used by the resources or by the automation testers, right? We use VS Code. So you need to install VS Code, and after installing VS Code, right, you need to open an empty folder, and that empty folder is now like your project. Now under to this, right, I need to install Playwright. So if I need to install Playwright, right, what you need to do here is you need to just go to this particular icon extensions. You need to go to this particular icon, which is nothing but extensions. Now under to this particular extensions, right, you need to search for an extension called Playwright. You need to search for an extension called Playwright. Then you will get Playwright test for VS Code. If you click on it, right, see, it is already installed in my VS Code, so it is showing like this. But in your case, right, you will get install button like this. Whenever you search for Playwright, you will get Playwright test for VS Code and you will get install button. If you click on install button, that plugin will be installed to your VS Code. That plugin will be installed to your VS Code. Now, once you install this particular plugin to your VS Code, now the next step here is you need to go back to your normal project folder. If you click on this icon, right, this is your extensions. Now here again, you need to come back to your normal project, Explorer. And then right at the top, you have a search. If you click on that particular search, you will see the second option as show and run commands. If you click on it, then you will get this particular screen. Now here, right, you need to type Playwright. Okay, then here, right, you need to type Playwright. Then you will see test install Playwright. You need to click on to that particular Playwright. Then you will get this pop-up where you need to select all the options. You need to click on this so that it will select all the options and click on OK. So it will automatically install Playwright under to that particular folder or project. It will automatically download complete Playwright. It automatically downloads all the required files, packages, libraries, folder structure, everything will automatically get it downloaded under to that particular folder which you have opened in your VS Code. Which you have opened in your VS Code. Which you have already opened in your VS Code. Is this point clear? So if you see, right, see, if you frankly ask me, right, can we run this Playwright script in other JS browsers? Yes, you can run it. But you don't see such options. See, for example, if you are using VS Code, right, you have plugin for it, which actually helps us to automatically do complete installation of your Playwright. That may be not available if you are using some other editors. Okay, so it is always better to use the supportive editor, and which was also officially mentioned in their Playwright, documentation as well. So we are using VS Code. Okay, so if you see, right, VS Code, right, now under the VS Code, right, now after running that, right, it will automatically create this particular folder structure. Now anyway, here you will get a different folders. In that, right, it is not required. You will see a folder with name called test examples. Delete it. This is not required. It means they will also give you some example code snippets that how you can write your automation script. It is not required. So if you see, right, this is the hierarchy. Whenever you're installing Playwright library, right, it will automatically download all these folders and files. And this is the hierarchy of your Playwright automation project. Playwright automation project. And this is the hierarchy of your Playwright automation project. Okay, is this part clear? Now this is one way to install it. Now second way is like you can also run commands. It means I am going to file, I am going to open folder, and I am simply going to the same place, and I am simply saying, I am saying playwright underscore practice 2. And I am trying to open that particular folder in my VS Code. Now again, this folder does not have any files, it is completely blank. And if you see, right, it does not have any files, it is completely blank. Now, if I want to do this Playwright installation by running some commands, if I want to do this Playwright installation by running some commands, if I need to do this Playwright installation by running some commands. Now what I need to do here is I can directly go to the top. At the top, right, you see three dots. If you click here, you will get a terminal. You need to click on new terminal. Then you can see the terminal. In my mission, right, I practice with a lot of other languages as well. So it is showing robot, everything. But in your case, right, you will get only terminal. So once you get this particular terminal, right, you need to actually run some commands here. You need to run some commands here. You need to run some commands here. You need to run some commands here. So you need to run some commands here. So what commands you need to run here, right? It is very simple. It is not required that you need to again remember that as well. So what you need to do here is you just go to your Google Chrome and you just type here Playwright, and if you click on enter, you will get a Playwright link. If you go to your Playwright link, right, see, I want to use Node.js. So I am selecting Node.js and I'm clicking on documentation. So whenever you click on documentation, right, you will have a link called installation. If you click on installation and if you scroll a little bit down, if I want to install Playwright, I need to run this particular command. So copy this particular command and go back to your VS Code and go back to your VS Code. Okay, and open your VS Code and run that particular command here. And run that particular command here. So whenever you're running that particular command, right, first it will ask you, do you want to use this Playwright with TypeScript or JavaScript? So the first step here is it will ask you, do you want to install this Playwright with TypeScript or JavaScript? Means how you are going to code it. Whether you want to code it using TypeScript or whether you want to code it using JavaScript. Let us say I want to use JavaScript. Click on down arrow in your keyboard. If you click on again down arrow, right, it will select the TypeScript. You need to make sure that you are selecting JavaScript and press enter. Then it will ask you where you want me to put end-to-end tests. For example, if I am downloading it and if you want to write any test cases, where you want to write those test cases. So I am saying that you should write them under to a folder tests, or else you can give any name that what you want to give it. So I am going ahead with the default name tests. And then it is asking you whether you want GitHub Actions workflow. See, I'll tell you what is GitHub Actions workflow when we are discussing about Playwright features. But as of now, right, I'm putting it as false. I don't need this GitHub Actions workflow. If you want it right, you need to make it as true. I'm making it as false. And then, right, it is asking you, do you want me to install defaultly the browsers that are required to run your test? I'm making it as true. Enter. Now it is automatically initializing and it is automatically downloading all the required libraries. It is automatically downloading and finally, right, you will get the same hierarchy that what you had seen in your previous project. And as I said, right, we don't need these test examples, delete it. I don't need the test examples, I am deleting it. I don't need the test examples, I am deleting it. So if you see here, right, so this is nothing but your Playwright project. So whenever I want to install Playwright, right, I need to create a blank folder and I need to open that particular folder in VS Code. And under to that particular folder, right, I can install Playwright in two ways. One way is I can install that using plugin. And second way is I can also run one command and select the options to install Playwright under to that particular folder. And install Playwright under to that particular folder. So this is how that you need to do your installation. So this is how that you need to do your installation. Now the last check is like, for example, I have done my installation. How do you say that Playwright has been properly installed and configured? Properly installed and configured. So you can simply run a test and you can check. So how do we run a test and check? As I said you right now, one you need to go back to your terminal and if you open this test folder, under to that, right, you will see a file with name called example-spec.js. You will see a file called example-spec.js. Now, whenever you are going to see this example-spec.js, now under to this, right, you will see two test cases which are defaultly written. Whenever you see any line with test open core close circle brace and close circle brace. This indicates it is a test case. This indicates it is a test in Playwright. In the same way, right, if you see from 11th line to this 19th line, it is one test case. From 19th line to 11th line, it is another test case. So what you can do here is, you can remove one test and you have only one test case in your, test under two tests, right? You have a file called example.spec.js. Under to that, right, you have only one test case. You have only one test case. Now, it does not do anything. It is actually opening Playwright application, Playwright URL, and it is checking whether the title, it contains Playwright or not. It contains Playwright or not. So, if I want to check this, right, by running it. So, as I said you right, see, as I said you right, if I want to run it, I can use npx. npx is for executing your Playwright package. Not only Playwright package, if you want to execute any Node.js package or library, we need to use npx. We need to use npx. Can you guys hear me? Someone has paged me that they can't hear my voice. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? If yes, please type Y on your chat windows. Okay. So anyway, see, normally, right, as of now, right, I have not done anything and I have not explained anything with respect to coding. I have simply installed Node.js onto my machine. And the second one is I have simply installed Playwright. Well, first step is I have simply installed Node.js. Second step is I have installed VS Code. Third step is I have simply installed Playwright. I have simply installed Playwright. Now, whenever you're installing Playwright, right, you will automatically get this hierarchy of folders and as well as files. Hierarchy of folders and as well as files. And as well as files. Now, what I need to do here is, now I want to quickly check whether I'm able to run it or not. Whether I'm able to run it or not. See, normally, right, here, right, to understand that before running, right, you need to do one small change. You will have a file called playwright config.js. You need to click on that particular file. If you scroll a little bit down, you will have an option called projects. Now, under to that, right, you can see three different browser engines like Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. So, whenever you are going to run any test in Playwright, right, it will automatically run on all these three browsers. So, I don't want to run on two browsers. I want to run defaultly only on Chromium. So, comment that code 43 to 51, you need to comment it. It means now whenever you're running your test, right, it will run only on Chromium browser. Because I set only Chromium browser under two projects. So now what I need to do here is, now if I want to run this particular test, right, I need to simply say npx and I need to say playwright and I need to say test. This is the command to run your playwright test. npx means node package execute and I want to execute playwright package and I want to execute command called test and I want to execute command called test. So if you run it right, it will automatically execute your playwright test and it is executing and it is finally showing you here that only one out of one got executed and one got passed Now, if I want to see that report, just copy this and again run this particular command here so that you can open your report and you can see it. So it has executed only one test case. That particular test case name is has title. And in this test case, right, it has executed these steps. First step is it has opened Playwright. And the second step is it is checking whether that particular page has a title as Playwright or not. It is checking whether that particular page has a title as Playwright or not. Is this part clear? It is going to check whether that particular page has a title as Playwright or not. Anyway, I'll tell you how you need to open, how you need to validate, all these things, right? I'll tell you in our upcoming session. Okay, but as of now, right, to quickly check whether my Playwright installation is proper, right? What I need to do, if I need to press Control C to come out of this particular execution. Now I need to type npx playwright test. This is the command to run the test cases which are present under to that particular project. It is going to run one test And then it is showing 1 out of 1 got passed. 1 passed. 1 passed. Let us assume that if I remove this, okay, it is like it does not contain a playwright, right? It is nothing but it is like I'm checking for exact text. Now again, let me run it. Now what happens? It will fail this time. Because previously I am checking the title will contain this playwright. But now I am checking that the title should be exactly as a playwright. So what it is showing? It is showing it got failed. Because I am expecting that my title should be playwright. But the title of that particular site is fast and reliable end-to-end testing for modern apps. And at the end you have playwright. And at the end you have playwright. Previously, I am checking whether it contains. If that particular title contains, then it is nothing but then it will pass. But now, right, it does not contain it, right? Okay, it does not contain it, right? So it does not contain it, right? So this is how that we are going to validate. It means it is a failure. So if you scroll down, right, it is showing that got failed in this particular step. If you see green color marks means they got passed. If you see cross color marks means it got failed. And if you see in your console as well, it will show you that one it got executed and it is showing that it got failed. And it got failed. This is like basic check. Means I have done installation of your Playwright. Now I want to quickly check whether I am able to run my test case or not. I can, how I need to run? I need to click on these three dots, click on terminal, open new terminal, and then I need to run npx. Playwright is the package and command is test. So it should run that particular test case. So it should run that particular test case. Okay. Is this part clear? Then it should run that particular test case. It should run that particular test case. And since it got failed, right, it is showing that it is a failure and it is automatically opening that particular report. Now let me again correct that particular code. Go to this particular example and I want to check now it contains. Now what I need to do, I need to simply write like this. If I want to check whether it contains. Now save it. Now again I am running the same test here. Now if you see right now this time right it will pass because that title has playwright keyword. So it is showing that it got passed. So it is showing that it got passed. Now whenever you are executing your playwright test, right, it will defaultly execute in headless mode. It will be defaultly executed in headless mode. So it means headless mode means it does not open any browser. If I want to open that in headed mode, then what I need to do here is I need to write hyphen headed. I need to give only one option called hyphen headed. So if you see right, it will open browser and then it is opening that application and it is validating and finally it is closing your browser. And finally it is closing your browser. And finally it is closing your browser. So if I want to run my test by opening a browser, I need to give this hyphen headed option. Hyphen headed option when I am executing it. When I am executing it. So this is like basic check to run your test. To run your test. To run your test. And a second important thing that you need to remember here is whenever you are executing it, see you will have playwright config. You need to open that particular file and you need to go and check here. You will have a key and value where you can see test directory. And here I am mentioning that my test cases are written under to this particular folder. So any test cases that you write under to this particular folder, right, they will be automatically executed if you run this particular command. See, for example, let me just copy the same file here. Okay, for multiple times. What I am doing it is I am copying the same file here for multiple times. Okay, I am copying the same file here for multiple times. Now, if I run the same command again, npx playwright test, it will run all the test cases that are written under to that particular folder. See, this is your first test. So it has executed only one because the file name convention is not right. So what I am doing here is I am simply saying every test should end with spec.js and you can give any file name. So what I am saying here is I am removing this and I am correcting that file names in proper format. and I am just renaming that particular file name with a name.spec.js. Now again, let me rerun it. So if you see, right, if I am running it, now it should run all the 4 test cases. So first test, it will open browser and it is going to run it, and finally it is going to close your browser. Now it is executing second test, and finally it is showing 4 test cases got executed. Now another important thing here is all these 4 are executed with 4 in parallel. I don't want to execute that in parallel. Now what I need to do here is I will have an option called fully parallel. Comment this. It will not execute these test cases in parallel. And I will also see workers. Okay, we have an option called workers, where I need to give only one. One means it should run only with one thread, one after other. Worker means it specifies the total number of threads in parallel. Here, right, I want to execute only one thread. So I need to give here one. These two are required. So one is you need to disable this fully parallel. And the second thing is you need to mention worker as one. Then it will execute one by one, one after other. Then it is going to execute one after other. So what I need to do, again, I need to go to terminal. I need to open new terminal so that you will get this terminal. Now here, right, you need to go to node. Okay, here, right, you need to go to node. And here, right, what I need to do here is I need to open these terminals. Okay, I need to, let me just close all these terminals. Close. And I have only one terminal. Now I am writing npx playwright. Now I am writing npx playwright test hyphen headed. So what happens? It is going to run these test cases in a sequence. See, first it has executed first test case, second test case, third test case, and fourth test case. And fourth test case. Now it is executing those test cases in sequence. Now it is executing those test cases in sequence. Is this part clear? So this is how that we are going to execute your tests. This is how that you are going to execute your tests. Okay. So if you see here, right, the first step here is after installing, right, just to run one test case and check whether you are able to run your Playwright scripts or not. So if you are able to run, right, it means your Playwright setup is good enough. Now if you see, right, just a quick recap, like, right, first, if I need to run my Playwright test, the first prerequisite is I need to install Node. Second prerequisite is I need to install VS Code. Third prerequisite is I need to install Playwright. When I'm installing Playwright, right, this can be installed in 2 ways. One is using VS Code extension, and the second one is you can run npx you can run a command, and you can also install it from your terminal. You can also install it from your terminal. What command you need to run? You need to run this npm init playwright test. You need to run this npm init playwright test. You need to run npm init playwright test. Okay, so this is the command that you can run from your terminal to install it. And whenever I need to run my playwright test, the command is like you need to run it using npx playwright test. And if I want to run it in headed mode, then I need to use hyphen headed. Then I need to use hyphen headed. Then I need to use hyphen headed. Okay, this is how that you are going to run your playwright test. Now the next criteria. Now the next option here is, now whenever you're installing your playwright, right, we are getting some hierarchy. It means we are getting some folders which are automatically installed when you're installing playwright. Now you need to understand that hierarchy. Now you need to understand that hierarchy or the files and folders files and folders that are created under to your Playwright project. That are created under to your Playwright project. Now, what are those files? See, it is very simple. Whenever you go here, right, whenever you're installing your Playwright, right, you will see these files. Now, let me just open a different project. Like, right, we go to File, Open Folder, and if I'm installing that with Playwright plugin, right, you are going to get this as your default folder structure. Okay, now here, right, if you see here, right, what is the default folder structure? First is I will see a folder with name called .github. I will see a folder called .github. Okay, so if you see here, right, whenever I'm going to get, okay, whenever you're going to install Playwright, right, you will see different folders. It means here, right, you will see folders like, you will see different folders. Like what are those folders? So first folder is nothing but GitHub folder, second folder is node modules, third folder is test, and you will see files like gitignore, package log, package log.json, package date.json, and as well as playwright config.js. Playwright config.js. Then we are going to get then we are going to get playwright config.js. Playwright config.js. Okay, playwright config.js. Okay, so if you see here, right, it means you will see three folders, and you will see another four files that are created under to that particular hierarchy. Now you need to understand what are these folders and what are these files that are created under to this particular hierarchy. Now the second step is you need to understand, now you have done with your installation and you are able to run your Playwright test. Now, before writing a test under to Playwright, right, first you need to understand you are going to get some folders and files under to that particular project. Now, you need to understand what are those folders and as well as the files that are created under to that particular project. That are created under to that particular project. So, what are those files and folders that are created under to that particular project? So if you are going to create files and if you are going to get some files and folders, right, now you need to understand what are those files and folders that are going to get created under to that particular project. Let me just clear this. So if you see, right, first folder is GitHub. But under to that, right, you will see a folder called workflows. Okay, now let me just explain you. So let us say this is your mission, your local mission, and you are planning to automate, right? So that I have created a project. In that particular project, I have installed Playwright. In that particular project, I have installed Playwright. Now, whenever I want to run my Playwright test, right, I can run that test in two ways. One way is I can run that particular test cases in my local, or else I can run that particular test cases in my remote. It means not on my mission. It will run it on some other mission and I'll get my results. Okay, I'll get my results. So whenever I want to run my Playwright tests on remote, right, again, under to remote, right, we have different ways where you can run your test cases. Where you can run your test cases. So here, right, under to remote, right, we have different ways where you can perform your execution. So that in that one of the option is nothing but you can also run your Playwright test cases in GitHub repository. In GitHub repository. Okay, it is nothing but source code repository where we actually store our code. You also have an option to run your Playwright test cases in GitHub repository. If I need to run my test cases in GitHub repository, we have an option called GitHub Actions. We have an option called GitHub Actions under to that particular repository. If I need to run my Playwright tests in GitHub under to GitHub Actions, then we need this particular folder. Then we need this particular folder. It means if you go and if you open that particular folder like GitHub Actions, right? If you go and if you open that particular folder GitHub Actions, you will see a folder with name called workflow. Under to that particular workflow, right, you will see a .yml file where, right, you will see some set of instructions. And these instructions will help you to run your Playwright tests in GitHub repository under to GitHub Actions. So it is not required to do any changes to this particular file. If you have this particular file, right, whenever you are updating your code to GitHub repository, it will automatically run your Playwright tests. It will automatically run your Playwright tests in a GitHub repository under to GitHub Actions. Now, how it is getting executed, what instructions has been given in this, right, that we will see in our upcoming sessions. As of now, it is not required because it is already a predefined template. If you have this template under to your Playwright project, whenever you are updating your code to GitHub repository, it will automatically run all these Playwright tests in your GitHub Actions. In your GitHub Actions. In your GitHub Actions. Is this part clear? So, yeah, means we can also run our test cases in GitHub. If I want to run my test case in GitHub repository, right, we also have an option called GitHub Actions. Under to that section, right, you can see these test cases got executed and you can see the results as well. You can see that particular results as well. Okay. So for that, right, we need this particular file. Now, second, as I said you right, whenever I'm going to use Playwright, it is a node project. It is nothing but where I'm going to write my code using JavaScript. And if I need to run my code which I have written in JavaScript, right, I need some libraries or packages which are relevant to node. So whatever the libraries or packages that are required to run my Playwright script, right, that will be downloaded under to this particular folder. What we actually call it as node modules. What we actually call it as node modules. If you see, right, here Playwright is also a package. Now under to this, right, it has all these files which actually help you to run your Playwright test, which also have predefined methods or functions which you are using while writing your Playwright script. While writing your Playwright script. The blind rule here is, say normally, right, whenever you create a Java project, whatever the libraries that are required, right, you will see them under to Maven dependencies. In the same way, right, whenever you are running your Python project, whatever the libraries that you need to run your Python, right, you will see under to Python. Whatever libraries, right? In the same way, if I want to run a Node.js project where I'm going to write my code in JavaScript, it needs some Node.js libraries or packages. So whatever the libraries or packages that are required to run my Playwright test, right? All those libraries are available under to this particular node modules. Are available under to this particular node modules. Are available under to this particular node modules. Now the next criteria. Now the next folder is tests. Normally, whatever the test cases that you write under to Playwright, right? Those test cases should be written under to this particular folder. If I want to create another test, I can directly create another test, and always the naming convention should be exam name.spec.js. Okay, and don't ask me why we need to write spec.js. See, every language or every tool, right? Whenever you're going to write, right, you need to follow some rules and you need to write it. See, for example, in Java, right, whenever I'm going to store any variable, right, any data, I will write int a is equal to 10. And if you ask me, right, why we need to write int, it means it specifies the data type. Okay, but why we need to write int? Can't we write without int? Means you can't write it because that language has that rule. Whenever you're going to store any value, right, you should also specify data type. In the same way, right, whatever the test cases that you're writing under to Playwright, right, that files should have extension called spec.js. That files should have extension called spec.js. Okay, it indicates that it is a Playwright test. That indicates it is a Playwright test file. That indicates it as a Playwright test file. Okay, so now, right, whatever the test cases that you want to write as part of your Playwright, right, to automate, right, we need to write those test cases under to this particular test folder. And then you will also get a folder, and then you will get a file with name called git ignore. It means it's very simple. It means very simple. It's like for a layman, let us assume that I am an automation tester. I have a mission. In my mission, right, I have created a project. In that project, right, I have created a Playwright and I have written some Playwright tests under it. Now, whatever the code that I am writing, right, this code should be stored into some common repository. It means it is like a common place where I need to store my complete project code. Let us say I have stored that particular project code into this particular source code repository. So whenever I want to store this particular project into source code repository, right? Whenever I'm going to create that particular project in my local, it also creates some temporary files. It means, for example, whenever I'm trying to open my project in VS Code, right? It can also create some temporary files which are not required as part of your Playwright project. To get that opened in that particular editor or to get to run those Playwright tests, right? It may also create some files which are not required to run to use it as part of your Playwright. So if you see here, right, in this ignore, right, I don't want this node modules because these node modules are randomly getting downloaded whenever you're going to run this particular Playwright project. And if you see, right, whenever you run, right, you will also get a test results folder in your Playwright. Whenever you're going to run any test cases, right, you'll also get a test results folder in your Playwright. And you will also get a folder with name called Playwright test report. And it will also create some cache files for your execution. So whatever the files that are created under to these folders, right, are like temporary files. But it is not required to store that into your GitHub repository. So if I want to skip these folders, these files which are available under to these folders, we actually use git ignore. It means whenever in my local machine, right, I want to push this code to remote. I don't want to push all the files which are available under to these folders. Then I need to create git ignore and I need to add those folders here. It means any files that are created under to these folders temporarily, that will be not pushed and stored into that particular remote repository. To avoid that list, right, we can add those files or folders under to this git ignore. It means whenever you're trying to push your code from local to remote, right, these files will be not considered by your Git client. Will be not considered by your Git client. Will be not considered by your Git client. Okay, so to skip means whenever you want to push your code to Git repository, right, if I want to skip all the files which are available under to these folders, we actually use this git ignore, which will be automatically generated when you're installing your Playwright in your mission, which will be automatically generated when you're installing the Playwright in your mission. Now the next criteria. Now the next criteria is you will see a file called package.json. This file is similar to your pom.xml file in your in your Java project. So here, right, when you go and when you click on to this particular file, when you click on this package.json, here, right, you can see the details of your project, and majorly, right, in this, right, you will see scripts and as well as dependencies. Dependencies means if I want to run this particular project, I need Playwright and I need Node. Without these two libraries, right, I can't run Playwright test. Dependencies means it indicates libraries that are required to run your test. Libraries that are required to run your test. Libraries that are required to run your test. So that will be shown under to package.json. Normally, right, in package.json, right, we need scripts and we need these dependencies. Now, what are scripts that we will see? I'll tell you after a couple of executions, right, instead of every time running a command, right, you can come and configure that command under to this scripts. So whenever you're trying to run it, right, it will automatically run the code that is being configured under to this particular scripts. So for that, right, we will use the scripts. But as of now, right, the main intention of this particular file is to identify what dependencies or libraries are required to run your Playwright test. What dependencies or libraries that are required to run your Playwright test. To run your Playwright test. Is this part clear? So this is what that we are going to see as part of your this is what that we are going to see as part of your execution, as part of your as part of your project. Under the project, right, you'll see a file called package.json, and this package.json will help you. This package.json will help you to list out the dependent libraries that are required to run your Playwright test. Now, many people has a doubt. Whenever they install this Playwright, right, they have a doubt. They will say that, okay, package.json will show us the dependencies or libraries that are required. Then why we need this package lock.json? So it is very simple. I'll tell you. See, for example, I have created a Playwright project. And to run this particular project, right, I need two libraries. Those two libraries are nothing but Playwright and as well as type node. Okay, these two libraries are required. But these two libraries has a dependency on some other node libraries. Those are called as transitive dependencies. Means your project has dependency on these libraries and these libraries has dependency on other libraries. So from where you can see the transitive dependencies that are required by these libraries, right? That you can see under to package lock.json. I will show you. You will easily understand it. Now if you go back and if you see here, right, under to package log.json, right? If you go and if you see this package log.json, right? Now if you see here, right, under to this, right, you can see all the dependencies. So if you press Control F and if you type dependencies, Control F and if you type dependencies, you can see that all the dependencies that are required for your project to run your Playwright test, including your transitive dependencies. It means you need Playwright library, but Playwright will have dependency on some other libraries. So you can see all those libraries where it has a dependency on other libraries to run your tests. The main intention of this package log.json is nothing but to identify transitive dependencies. Now, the next and the last file under to your framework or project is nothing but playwright config.js. This file is very important. It's like this file will act as a two important. This file can be used in two important aspects. One is like any configurations that you want to do as part of your Playwright project, we do that under to this particular file. And the second important is nothing but your execution of your Playwright test start from this particular file. Whenever you are trying to execute, right, your execution will start from this particular file, playwright.config.js. And this file is specially for your Playwright configurations, not for your node projects. For your node projects, you have package.json to identify dependencies. To identify transitive dependencies, we have package-log.json. To ignore Git files, I have git ignore. To write test cases, we have tests. Whatever the libraries that are required, that will be downloaded under to node modules. And GitHub has a workflow file which helps us to run these test cases in GitHub Actions. Run these test cases in GitHub Actions. Okay, so this is what that you need to understand as part of this particular hierarchy. So if I need to make it simple, right? So very simple. GitHub is nothing but to run it on GitHub Actions. Node modules is nothing but whatever the node libraries that are required by this particular project will be downloaded under to this particular folder. We actually write test cases under to this particular test folder. Git ignore is for GitHub. Whenever I want to push my code, right? If I want to ignore few files or folders, that list can be mentioned under to this particular git ignore. That files can be mentioned under to this particular git ignore. And package log.json is nothing but to identify transitive dependencies. Package.json is to identify dependencies. To identify transitive dependencies, we use log.json. And playwright config.js is nothing but the file which will be used in two aspects. One is you can maintain your global configuration to run your Playwright tests under to this particular file. And whenever you're executing your Playwright tests, your execution starts from this particular playwright config.js. Okay, so this is your hierarchy of your playwright. So this is your hierarchy of your playwright. So this is your hierarchy of your playwright. Okay, and now the next, and now write the next. Now you got some idea. It means let me just quickly summarize and then we'll go ahead with our next. And then we need to go ahead with your next set of concepts. So if you see here, right, till now, right, what we learned here is what is playwright, and why we use playwright, and then we try to understand what advantages that we have in playwright, and then we started discussing on the setup. I had shown you that we need to install Node, we need to install VS Code, and when you are installing Node, right, we should defaultly get npm, and if I want to run any package, I need npx, so that you should also check whether these all are getting installed when you are installing them. It's like I need to install Node, npm, npx, VS Code, and then I need to install Playwright library. And if I need to install Playwright library, I can use plugin or extension, or else you can run a command from terminal and you can install it. And then I had shown you that how to run a Playwright test. Okay, we will use command called npx playwright test. And if I want to run it in headed mode, then I will use --- headed. Then I'm going to use --- headed. Then I'm going to use --- headed. Then I'm going to use --- headed. Then I need to use --- headed. Okay, so these are like what we are going to see. Okay, what we have done till now. And then, right, you have understood the hierarchy or the folder structure, that what you see under to your playwright, what you had seen under to your playwright, that what you had seen under to your playwright. Is this part clear? So these are the things that what we have done till now. Now we are going to get into our next concepts. Now we are actually going to get into our next concepts. Okay, what are the next concepts? What is your next concept is? Now we are going to understand the set 2. Okay, the set 2, where you are going to understand how do we create a test in Playwright. How do we create a test in Playwright? Okay, and then, right, whenever you are going to create a test, right, you need to understand how you are going to create a test, and you need to understand why we write code. You need to understand the code. You can simply say you need to understand the code written to write a test. And then, right, you need to understand how to open browser. Okay. And then you need to understand how to open URL. And then you need to understand how to run your test case in headed mode or in headless mode. Okay, and then you need to understand if I need to create a test, if I need to write some test case, right? See, normally, right, if I need to write a test case, right, we normally, right, if you see, right, we are going to perform some actions and then we are going to do some validations. Which helps us to tell whether that particular test got passed or failed. So if the same, right, if I need to write it in as part of automation, first you need to understand if I need to perform action, right, first you need to understand how do we locate that element, how do we locate those elements in Playwright, how you are going to locate those elements in Playwright. And then for that, right, you need to understand the locators which are available. And second, right, then you need to understand what are different element actions that are available. What are different element actions, or else you can simply say element action methods or functions that are available in Playwright. in Playwright. And then you need to understand how you are going to validate, it. Whenever I need to perform validation to confirm whether that particular test case got passed or failed, we can do that. We have multiple ways to do that. In that, right, the first way here is we need to capture data and we need to compare that data with your expected, so that you can mark that as pass or failed based upon the result. Or else the second way is you can also use, the validation methods. Whatever, you can also use the validation methods, which are nothing but what we are actually calling it as an validation methods, through which we are actually performing assertions. It means again we are checking expected value with your actual value, which are already available in Playwright. We should understand what are the validation methods that are already available under to Playwright. Now this part you need to understand. It means now we are slowly getting into our automation, so that how you are going to automate your application to test it. How you are going to automate your application to test it. So if I need to test my application, right? So first step here is I need to perform actions. If I need to perform action, I need to understand locators and I need to understand the methods that are available to perform actions in Playwright. And then after performing some set of actions, I need to verify or validate it. If I need to verify or validate it, we have two ways. One way is you can capture data and validate it. Second way is you can use predefined methods. And you can perform your validations. You can perform your predefined methods in Playwright. We already have some methods which are available in Playwright, through which you can perform your validations. Okay, this is your second. Okay, so now we are slowly getting into that particular automation. And then, right, when we are getting into these action methods and this one, right, I'll tell you whenever you are going to, it means, see, now the second part is nothing but we are going to write some automation script. If I want to write that particular script, right, we have two ways to get that automation script. One way is you can get that using recording. Second way is you need to write some descriptive code, to automate it. It means without using any tool, right, you need to write the code. And the first way is you can also generate that code using recording. You can also generate that particular code using recording. Now we will see both approaches. Okay, we will see both the approaches. But to understand that, right, first you need to understand how do we create a test. So the first rule here is, see, just go to your VS Code. Let me just close all this. Okay, let me just close all this. Now if you see, right, I have a folder with name called test folder. Now under to this particular folder, right, I am going to create a Playwright test. Now you see, right, I can create any number of files under to this particular test folder. But each file should have file name. Each file should have file name, and that file name should have extension called .spec.js. Each file should have extension called spec.js. That file should have extension called spec.js. It means, see, normally, right, any JavaScript file which you are creating it, right, that file will have extension called JS. Okay, and why we actually write spec.js, okay, for Playwright test. Test. It means, see, the blind rule here is you can write your test cases under to this particular test folder. And any tests that you're writing under to this particular test folder, right? Any files that you're creating, right? That file should have extension called spec.js. If you see extension with spec.js, right? That indicates it is a Playwright test file. It is nothing but it is a convention. It is not a rule. I can simply say, see, whenever you see any file which has .spec.js, right, it means it indicates that it is a test. It is always better to write this convention to easily identify that this is a test file where we have some test cases under to it. Okay, and it tells, for example, you are working on a Playwright, whether you may be a developer or a QA who are actually responsible for writing this Playwright tests. It easily tells the developer that whatever the code that you write under to spec.j files, right, it indicates that those are test cases. Those are test files and where we actually write your test cases. And Playwright, right, will automatically identify all spec.js files which are written under to that particular folder. See, whenever you're running, right, if you're running, right, whatever the files which are with extension called spec.js, right, your Playwright package will automatically identify and consider them as test cases. And consider them as test cases. Okay, and consider them as test cases. And normally, right, whenever you're executing, right, your Playwright package will defaultly go and check for the files which has extension called .spec.js or .test.js. Even though if you write spec.js or even though if you write test.js, right, they will be considered as a test cases and it will be executed. So it is very simple. Whenever I'm going to execute it, right, I need to run this particular command called npx playwright test, which will automatically go and search all the files which have extension called .spec.js or .test.js. And it will consider those files as test cases and it will run it. And it will run it. And second thing, right, naming convention. Name can be anything. It can be login.spec.js, registration.spec.js, certified.spec.js, whatever the functionality that you're automating it, right, you can give that functionality name.spec.js. It indicates that it is a test file where it contains test cases to test that particular functionality. To test that particular functionality. And if I need to make it very simple, right? The blind rule to identify a test file, right? Which it should have .spec.js. And in some projects, right, instead of spec, right, they will also write .test.js. Even though if you see a file with name called spec.js, or even though if you see any file with extension called .test.js, right, both are same with respect to Playwright. It means whenever you are executing your Playwright test, right, it will go and check .spec.js files and .test.js files. .test.js files. So the naming convention should be name of that particular functionality, and at the end, right, you can write spec.js or you can write test.js, and you can write test.js. Now here, right, see, now we are actually getting into our actual content. So whenever you see any test case, okay, in Playwright, see, the first statement is like import statement. It means, see, here test and as well as expect are nothing but the modules that what we are importing from that Playwright/test package. So as I said you, right, in Node.js, right, whenever you're installing any library, right, we also say that library as a package. If I say package means it contains some group of files. And in that files, right, you can write functions and as well as you can write classes. So the blind rule here is, I'll tell you, it is like whenever you are going to write any JS code, right, whenever you are going to write any language code, right, we actually follow some hierarchy. In the same way, right, whenever you're going to create some JS project, right, we actually create a project. Under to that particular project, right, we can create multiple packages. Under to that particular package, right, I can create multiple files. Under to these files, right, I can write functions and as well as classes. I can write functions and as well as classes. And I can write functions and as well as classes. Under to class, right, I can write properties and as well as methods. So if you see, right, whenever I see any JS library, now let us consider this is nothing but one of the library. Okay, this is nothing but one of the library. So whenever you see that code, right, that code is written under two packages. Under to that particular packages, right, we have files, functions, And classes, under two classes, right? Again, you see properties and methods. It means the functions and methods that are available under to that particular package can be reused in your code. Can be reused in your code. Okay? Can be reused in your code. Can we write in lower and as well? See it again. See every programming language has some naming convention that we need to follow. That I will tell you. But we are not bothered about for creating now a Node.js library, right? We are only bothered about to write some test cases and how we are able to reuse them in our automation script. So if you see here, right? So here, right here, this test and as well expect are nothing but the modules that are available under to this particular Playwright test. So if I need to create any test, right? First line is I need to import this statement. Then only I can use this test. This indicates that this is a test case. And this indicates that this is your second test case. So whenever you see a test with open and close brace, it indicates it is a test. It indicates it is a test. In the similar ways, if for example, if you had used JUnit, right? Whenever you see any method with annotation at the rate of test, it indicates it is a test. And in TestNG, whenever you see any test with annotation at the rate of test, it indicates it is a test. In the same way, right, in Playwright, right, we are actually going to write our test cases using a Mocha framework. Mocha is an inbuilt framework which is already available in a Playwright. So whatever the test cases that you write, right, you are going to follow the same approach to create a test. So in Playwright, right, if I need to create a test, right, I need to write like this. I need to write a test keyword with open and close circle brace. This indicates this is one test. This indicates it is one test. Now for this test block, right, I need to pass two parameters. So first parameter is nothing but name of that particular test. Whenever you are going to create a test in Playwright, right, you need to create a test block. Now in that particular test block, right, you need to pass two parameters. First parameter is nothing but name of that particular test. The first parameter is nothing but name of that particular test. Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay, so I'm sorry. So if you see here, right, whenever you are going to write any test in Playwright, right, that should start with this test block. And it means, see, first you write like this, then you'll easily understand. It's like whenever you're going to write like this, right, it indicates it is a test case. Now for this test case, right, I need to pass two parameters. So first parameter is nothing but a name of that particular test. And the second parameter is nothing but an anonymous function. See in Java, right, whenever you see this open and close brace with an arrow symbol, and if you write open curly brace and close curly brace in JavaScript, right, it indicates it is a function. And if you don't give any name to that particular function, it represents that it is an anonymous function. It represents that it is an anonymous function. And we need to pass two parameters. So first parameter is nothing but name of that particular test, and second parameter is nothing but anonymous function. And now whatever the function that you're passing as second parameter, right, I want to make it as async. So you need to write async. You need to write async. Async represents that I want to make this particular function asynchronous. I want to make this particular function asynchronous. Okay. I want to make this particular function asynchronous. Asynchronous. So if you see, right, now first you need to understand the basics. So first one is whenever I need to create a test, right, that test should start with a test block. And in that test, right, I need to pass two parameters. So first parameter is name of that particular test, and second parameter is nothing but an asynchronous function. So normally, right, in JavaScript, right, if you see any in this fashion, in this format, like if you see, right, like this, let us say I'm creating a function, and let us say I need to give some name. Okay, let us say that name is nothing but, let us say, M1, and I'm going to write some code here. Now this is nothing but what we are actually calling it as a function. What we are actually calling it as a function. But I don't want to give any name to that particular function. Then I can write like this. Then I can write like this. It represents a function. But I don't want to use this keyword as well. I can also write function in this format in JavaScript. So if you see, right, whatever that you write with open and close circle brace, and if you don't want to give the name, then I need to give arrow. It represents it is an anonymous function. Whenever it is executing this, right, it will execute the code that is written inside to that particular curly brace. It is going to execute the code that is written inside to that particular curly brace. So you need to understand here. So whenever I'm going to create a test for that particular test, right, I need to pass two parameters. What are those two parameters? The first parameter is name of that particular test, and second parameter is an anonymous function which does not have any name. And if you write any function with this arrow symbol, right, that is called as arrow function. That is called as anonymous arrow function. Anonymous arrow function. Now I want to make I want to make this particular function. Now if you see, right, okay, when you are going to make this anonymous function, right, you should also make sure that you are making it as asynchronous. You are making it as asynchronous. I'll tell you that why we are making this particular function as asynchronous. But as of now, right, just remember whenever you are going to create it, right, you need to give name and then you need to create an asynchronous function. Now, whatever the test steps that you are going to execute as part of that particular test, right, we need to write those test steps under to this particular block. You need to write those test steps under to this particular block. It means whenever you are going to write any test, right, the first important statement is you need to import test and expect. And we have two modules here. One is the test is for writing your test case. Expect is for doing your validations. These two are predefinedly available in your Playwright. These two are predefinedly available in your Playwright. These two are predefinedly available in your Playwright. Okay. Now you need to understand whenever I need to create a test, I need to create a test blocks where my first parameter is name of that particular test and second parameter is nothing but an asynchronous function. And second parameter is nothing but an asynchronous function. An asynchronous function. Now in this right, now the second, right, whatever the test code that you need to write, right, you need to write in between to this open curly brace and close curly brace. You need to write that in between to that particular open curly brace and that particular close curly brace. And you need to write that in your open curly brace and in your close curly brace. Is this part clear? Now the second step here is, now here I need to write some test, right? Now I need to write some steps. Now if I need to write some steps, right, in Playwright, right, we have a term called fixtures. Okay, we have a term called fixtures. Now what are fixtures? See, fixtures means these are like predefined variables that are declared in Playwright. You can use those fixtures and you can access methods from Playwright. You can access methods from Playwright. I will tell you in this, right. First we'll see how we are going to write a basic code, and then I'll tell you that what do you mean by fixtures and what fixtures that we have under to Playwright and how we are going to use it and how we are going to use it. So the first step is you need to understand that why we are writing the test case in this format. Okay. So here test indicates it is a test case. And the first parameter indicates what type of test. For example, I want to write login test. I will write login test. For example, I am going to write a test case for registration. I need to write registration. And the second parameter is nothing but you need to pass asynchronous anonymous arrow function. Asynchronous anonymous function. Anonymous function means the function which does not have any name. and it will be created as an arrow function. Then only whenever it is executing, whenever it is trying to execute this, right, it will go and execute the code that is written inside to this open and close curly brace. That is going to execute the code that is written inside to that particular open and close curly brace. Okay, is this part clear? So now the next concept here is, now I need to write my code. Okay, now I need to write some Playwright code here. So in Playwright, right, we have a fixture called page. Okay, I'll tell you what is fixture. Fixture is nothing but it is like a predefined or built-in, variable or built-in predefined attribute or variable available in your Playwright through which you can access methods from Playwright. So here, right, whenever you see anything with open and close brace, and here, right, we have a fixture called page. We have a fixture called page. We have a fixture called page. So whenever you have fixture called page, right, it indicates, see in Playwright, right, what it means here is, see, one important thing that you need to remember here, whenever you're going to write any Playwright test, because whenever you're going to write any Playwright test, see, normally, right, whenever I want to execute a Playwright test on my on an application, right? Okay, now first thing here is, here we have browser, and under to browser we have context, under to context we have page. So this is the hierarchy. It means if I need to automate, right, means I need to follow this hierarchy. It's like first I need to create an instance for browser, then I need to create an instance for context, then I need to create an instance for page. So using this page, right, I can access methods from Playwright. I can access methods from Playwright. But Playwright has also option. It is not required that every time, right, you need to follow the same hierarchy, like you are creating an instance for browser, then context, and then page, and then you are accessing methods from Playwright. If I want Playwright to automatically handle this browser and as well as context, then what I can do here is I can directly pass page as parameter to this particular anonymous function. I need to pass page as parameter. If you see, right, anything that I am passing here, right, this is passed as parameter to that particular anonymous function. It is passed as parameter to that particular anonymous function. Okay, so here, right, I need page. I'm passing with a double curly brace and I'm passing page. It is nothing but a page fixture. It is nothing but a page fixture. It is declared, but its value is never read. It means I have declared it. And if you see right, see, it is also showing you that how you are able to use it. It is nothing but a test name where you need to pass name and you need to create an asynchronous function where you need to pass page as a fixture. So what it does here is, see, if I need to use page, right, first I need to create a browser and then I need to create a context, and with that context I need to get that page. Whenever if I write this page, right, your Playwright script will automatically handle browser context and it will create a page. So you are able to use methods using this page. I can write page dot, I have a method called goto. And if you give any URL, let us say I want to open google.com site. Whatever, now if you go back and if you directly type here, let us say I want to open google.com site, copy this URL. And I can give that particular URL in this particular goto. It means I want to open this particular google.com site. Now, in Playwright, right, see here, right, we can write the test steps. But whenever you're going to write test steps, right, if you're writing like this, right, all these steps will be executed at a time on your application. It means very simple. You need to understand this. You need to understand this. This is very, very important. Let us say I have written 5 lines of code as an automation script and I want to execute that on my application. Okay. Now, whenever you're going to write these 5 lines of code as test steps under to your Playwright, all these steps will be executed at a time on that particular application. Then automatically that steps will fail. Because without executing first step, if you are trying to execute second step, right, it will automatically fail. So if I need to maintain that synchronization, means after executing my first step only, it should go and execute my second step. For that, right, what I need to do here is I need to write await before to every step. It means whatever the code that I write, right, before to that I need to write await. I need to write await. So here, right, we have a concept called promise. We have a concept called promise. If I need to maintain synchronization, or if I need to maintain that the promise to be successful, then only it should go and execute your next line of code. I need to use this async and await. I need to use this async and await. It means whenever you are going to put any function which is anonymous as async, then every line of code should have await as prefixed. If you don't write this right, whatever the lines of code that you write here, right, all those lines of code will be executed at a time on your application, so it will fail. If you write await, it means after successful execution of this, right, then only it will go and execute your next step. So for example, I had opened that particular google.com site. Okay. Now the next step is after opening, right, I want to check whether that particular title of that particular page. So here, right, again, I need to write await and I should write expect. I should write expect. So as I said, you right, in Playwright, we have a package, we have a module with name called expect, where we have some predefined methods. Like I can simply say, to have title. We have some methods like to have or else expect, and here, right, I can simply pass page, and here, right, I can simply say to have title, and I can simply say that the title of that particular page is nothing but whenever you are opening google.com site, right, I want to check what is the title. It is Google, right? So I want to type here Google. Google. If the title is the same, right, then it will pass it, or else it will fail it. Or else it is going to fail that particular test case. Or else it is going to fail that particular test case. Now, another important rule that you need to understand here is under to this particular file, right, I have three test cases. One is this one, which is nothing but Google test case. Second one is this test case, and third one is this test case. But when I am executing it, right, it should run only this particular test case. I can put a dot only. I can put a dot only. So whenever you are executing this, right, I can write npx playwright test. I can write npx playwright test and I want to execute that in headed mode. So it will run the test for which test you marked it as only. It will run only the test for which test you have marked it as only. See, I have changed my project, right? So it is executing it on all the three browsers like Chromium, Firefox, and as well as WebKit. Now go to your Playwright config, and again I want to run only on Chromium, comment other two. And second thing, I don't want to run them in parallel, comment this parallel. I want to execute one by one. If I want to execute it, I want to execute one after other test. Then I need to mention these workers as one. These workers as one. It means it will take only one worker, one test at a time, one thread at a time. Now, if you run it right, see, it is executing that in Chromium browser. It will open Chromium browser and execute google.com, and it is checking for title, and finally it is showing it got passed. Now, let me just change that particular title. Instead of Google, right, I am saying Google, and I am checking for this particular title. Now, again, rerun it. So, if you are rerunning it right now, this time it will fail because it does not have that particular title. It does not have that particular title. So if you see, right, it will actually fail now. It is showing that you are actually checking for Google, but there, right, we received Google. So both are not matching, and it was defaultly waiting for 5,000 milliseconds, and then it is failing, and then it is failing, and then it is failing. So this is how that we actually create a test and we execute it. We actually create a test and we are going to execute it. So here, right, you need to understand whenever you are going to create a test, right, we actually create a test block. Now, under to that, right, we need to pass two parameters. One parameter is nothing but the test name, and second parameter is nothing but the anonymous, asynchronous anonymous function. And for that particular function, right, I need to pass page, which is nothing but a fixture, which is nothing but a fixture. Fixture means it is already available in Playwright. It is a predefined attribute in a Playwright. You can use that attribute through which you can access methods of Playwright. You can access methods of Playwright. And then, right, if I use go to, it will launch URL. And wherever I want to do validations, right, I need to use expect to do validations. Now, what I have done, I have explained you only two steps. So how you are launching and how you are opening an application and how you are checking for a title. Now, after opening this particular application, right, now I need to perform actions and I need to start performing actions and doing validations. For that, right, if I need to do that validations, right, for that, right, now we need to start looking into our action methods. Now we need to understand what methods are available in Playwright. So if I need to perform action on any element, first thing is I need to understand how do I locate it, and then I need to understand what method is available in Playwright through which I can perform that action, through which I can perform that particular action. And after performing action, I need to also understand what methods are available in expect to do validations. To do validations. So now we need to quickly start what are the methods that are available, and then we will write examples on those methods to check how you are performing actions on your application. How you are performing actions on your application. Okay. So this part, right, we will see in our next session tomorrow. We will see in our next session tomorrow. Okay, we will see that in our next session. In tomorrow's session, right, majorly we will concentrate on locators, and then we will concentrate on the methods that are available to perform actions. Okay, to perform actions. And then we will concentrate on how you are going to do your validations. How you are going to do your validations using expect. And on these, right, we will write multiple examples. We will write multiple examples. We will write multiple examples. When we are writing these multiple examples, right, here I will show you how you can write your Playwright test in a descriptive way, that how I am writing now, or else how you can use your recorder to speedily generate a script. So these things, right, that we will see in our next class tomorrow, same time at 10 to 12 p.m. Okay, tomorrow links also remains the same. I don't know, you will get that link in your group or wherever you got it, right? You will get into those groups. What was tomorrow link as well? I think so the same link will be used. It was created for 2 days. But anyway, I will confirm the same and I'll come back. I'll confirm the same and I'll come back. It is like it was created for 2 days, I think, right? So the same link is also applicable for tomorrow as well. The same link should work for tomorrow's session as well. Okay, recordings, we are not going to provide any recordings on this. You need to write a running notes or I'll share you the document which I am typing it. We are not going to provide any recordings for these sessions. Okay, so please make sure tomorrow also same time at 10 a.m. Okay, and any further questions, right, with respect to recordings or with respect to details, any other, right, please reach your coordinator who has shared you this link. Okay, any documents, anything, right, they will share you the document which we derived in this particular session. Any details, right, you need to reach the coordinator who has shared you that particular link. And as I said, right, see, we can use any other editor as well, but the best editor which is suggestible is nothing but you need to use VS Code. If you want to use it, it's because, see, whatever the code that you write, right, that does not have any dependency on editor. Editor is like IDE. It is an interface integrated, it is integrated development environment, right? It only gives us an UI. We don't have any dependency of our code with your editor. But if you want to use some features like using plugin, you want to install Playwright. Okay, or else if you want to install any other plugins like test runner or something, it is always better to use VS Code. If you use other editors, right, you don't see these plugins through which you can speed up those activities. Is this part clear? See, if in Eclipse, right, if you are able to write your JS code, right, that editor is also supportive to run your code. Okay, but it is not suggestible to use it because VS Code has a lot of plugins with Playwright. You can download them and you can use them as part of your You can use them as part of your you can use them as part of your Playwright implementation. Is this part clear? So any other questions on today's session? So today, right, a quick summary. We had seen what is Playwright. It is a library, or we call it as a package, and we are driving Playwright with JS. And then we had seen some advantages that why Playwright was becoming popular when compared with other tools. And then we had seen what is difference. Just a little bit basic, like what is manual and what is automation. And then, right, we actually use Playwright for automation testing, right? If I need to use Playwright and if I need to start automation, right, first prerequisite is I need to have I need to have regression shoot in my hand. Without that, we don't do any automation. And then, right, Playwright supports multiple browsers, multiple operating systems. It reduces flakiness. It has auto waiting functionality. And Playwright is fast when you compare it with other tools. That is what it is. And the second thing, and third, and next, right, I explained you that how you need to install Playwright on your mission. And then I explained you when you're installing it, right, we can install that using plugin, and as well as we can install that using your terminal by running a command. And then I explained you the hierarchy of your Playwright project, which will be created when you're installing it. And then I explained you how to run your test, in your Playwright to check whether you have done properly with the Playwright setup. And then I explained you whatever the test that you create under to Playwright, right? Why we actually write that using this test notation, and why we are passing two parameters. One is name and second one is anonymous function. And second one is anonymous function. See, that part we will see anyway. I said you right, Dhaval, in our next session, right, I'll show you that how you can use your plugin. Okay, we have different ways. We can use inbuilt Playwright plugin, or else you can use Chrome recorders as well, through which you can generate script. That's what, right, I'll tell you in our next class. If you ask me, right, about the drawbacks with respect to my experience, right, see, normally, right, we have ready-made servers where you are able to run your Selenium tests, like Selenium Grid or Selenium UI, Selenium or Moon. We have ready-made servers which actually help us to support remote execution for Selenium. And if you talk with respect to Playwright, right, as it is new to the market, we don't see any ready-made servers which can be installed on your remote missions to support your Playwright execution. To support your Playwright execution. And this 2-day session, 20th and 21st, is completely free, no fees for it. Okay, any further details if you need, right, you need to reach your coordinator who is actually coordinating you. I don't have those details. Okay, any other questions? So tomorrow, right, we will see how you're going to locate it, what action methods, and how you're going to validate it. And whenever I need to generate any automation script using Playwright, how you can speedily design that automation script using a recorder option or inbuilt recorder option. Or else if you want to write it, what methods you need to understand, what are those methods, and how you need to use it by writing some couple of examples. Okay. See, again, performance, it was performed from UI, right? How do you measure performance from UI? With a single instance, you can't measure performance, right? Even though if you see, performance is testing is not done for 10 or 15 or 30 parallel threads, right? It will be performed with minimum thousands of threads in parallel. So if you want to check performance by running it for 10 or 15 threads, right, it was okay. But if you want to check actual performance, UI performance testing, right, we don't measure that with these UI automation tools. Okay. So that is the best approach that what we follow in our real practice. We don't use these tools for performing to check the performance testing from UI. Is this part clear? Any other questions? So anyway, if you are good, right, then we can wind up for today. Tomorrow also same time at 10 a.m. and we'll continue with our Playwright locators, Playwright action methods, and how you are going to perform validations, and how you can quickly generate a script using Playwright recorders. That we will see in our next session tomorrow same time at 10 a.m. I am assuming that it is already more than 3 hours, and I am thank you guys for bearing me from last 3 hours, and have a nice day. Tomorrow we will again rejoin same time at same time at what we say that 10